Thank you. Okay. All right. So,
All right, Chairman Brenner,
present.
Vice Chairman Danford,
Here.
Commissioner Moeller.
Here.
Commissioner Viosian.
Present.
And Commissioner Simpson. Okay. All right. And my other two have recused themselves.
I have it on, I believe.
Oh, it is on the lights
Okay.
on.
Yeah, the
It is
light's
not
on.
close enough to you.
Oh, there you go. I'll turn it up. Oh. There you go. So we're two mics at a time.
Okay.
All right. So our first move is, of course, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of our February 26th, 24 meeting?
I move that we consider the approval of regular minutes of February 26th.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay.
Commissioner Moeller, in favor, yes or no?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Danford,
Yes.
Commissioner Vosine,
Yes.
Commissioner Chairman Brennan.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Okay. All right. Our next bit of business is, it's a public hearing. And is there anyone that is going to speak aside from the individuals that are looking to advance their application for resources from this commission? Yeah, I'll do that. I'll move closer. Not that close, I guess.
Chairman Brennan, so tonight we have no public hearings, and we have no old business, and we'll start tonight off with a presentation from the Parks and Rec Department on how they assist in this area as well. And I have Liz Langenbach, she's the Director of Park and Rec, and I think JJ Underwood is with her.
Perfect.
Good evening, Chairman Brennan, members of the commission. My name is Liz Langenbach, and I'm the Parks and Recreation Director. And with me today is also JJ Underwood. He's the Recreation Coordinator in charge of senior programs for the city. Jennifer had reached out to us and just asked if we could share a little bit about some of the history of our senior services. And let's see. Sorry, Jen. Let me get to our presentation real quick. And just asked if we could share a little bit about senior services, as at times it kind of gets a little bit confusing because Health and Human Services used to fund an agency that did the senior service offerings in the community. So we're just going to be very brief and just share with you and then answer any questions that you might have today. So just really quickly, the history of senior services. It was formerly managed by the nonprofit East Valley Adult Resources in the community of Apache Junction. They were a nonprofit that offered services in Mesa as well as Apache Junction. They were funded primarily by federal AAA funds, so that's Area Agency on Aging. Those are federal dollars. And Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens is who manages that AAA funding for our region, for Pinal County and Gila County. In the past, Health and Human Services funded a small portion of costs, and the city provided the facility operations, the office space, and the utilities via the Parks and Rec. So back when we used to have the old library, Senior Services operated out of there. We provided the space, but East Valley Adult Resources provided all of the programming, the meals, and the transportation, and they were funded largely through Pinal Gila Council, through the AAA funding, but they were also funded as a nonprofit. In 2017, unfortunately, EVAR gave notice that they were no longer able to operate senior services. They shared that with us. And so at that point in time, City Council voted in 2017 to continue the services via Parks and Recreation. So just because this nonprofit was leaving, we had hundreds, if not thousands, of seniors receiving services in our community, and they wanted to continue that. In the past, as I said, Health and Human Services funded EVAR at that time to the tune of about $28,000 to help towards transportation and meals. And when the city ended up taking on senior service programs, what they did is they reduced the H&HS budget by $28,000, and this money was returned to the city general fund so that they could offset operating senior services ourselves. And so we're going to share with you, JJ is going to come up. He runs our senior programs. He's going to share just briefly with you what we do offer in the community for senior services, as well as what those costs are that are already funded by the city of Apache Junction. And then I'll come up and just wrap up if you have any questions.
Hi, guys. Good evening. Commission. JJ Underwood, Parks and Recreation Coordinator. So like Liz mentioned, I'm the coordinator in charge of all of our senior programs. And so just a brief, quick information on what we offer. So we offer meals at our center, at the Multi-Gen Center, Monday through Friday. As you can see, we offer about 30,000 meals last year. So this is March through February of this current year. We offered 30,000 meals. So we did about 17,000 home-delivered meals. So those are meals that we deliver to our homebound seniors here within Apache Junction. And then we did about a little over 13,000 in-person meals in our center. We offer transportation to the center for any seniors who don't offer or who can't drive or are unable to drive. And so we did about 5,000 trips bringing seniors to the Multi-Gen Center to participate in our meals, do any of our activities, shopping, medical trips, and to the food bank for food boxes also. And then we also offer social programs. So we have our different activities that we run throughout the week. And I have a slide that kind of shows you some of the stuff we offer. But we had 4,470 seniors take part in our programs, from fitness, arts and crafts, bingo, those kind of things. So this is kind of an example of what you can see. This is our current monthly calendar for this month. So these are the different activities that we offer. And this is just what I offer on my senior side of stuff. This doesn't include our fitness classes that we offer for seniors, our pickleball program, any of our other senior programs that we offer. Also, this is just what I offer. So you can see we have walking classes, bingo, knit and crochet, cards, all the different types of things. Shopping trips, you can kind of see we go twice a month, and then we also go to the food bank and pick up food boxes for any seniors who are eligible for that through our partnership with them. Going over our costs, so here is what it costs. So we partner for our meals with Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens, like Liz mentioned. So we used to contract with a different agency, and PG or Pinal Gila came in and has taken over the kitchens themselves starting last year. So the $92,750, that's their cost on what they pay. Transportation, we contract out through Central Arizona Council on Developmental Disabilities, so CACDD. They offer transportation, and then we pay them to bring in our seniors. And then just the $7,500 is for city money that we do for programs, activities, stuff budgeted. And then we have our indirect costs, so facility, space, utilities, stuff like that. That includes salary, all that kind of stuff. So as you can see on the other side, we have our funding. So Pinal Gila and AAA funds us for the majority of it, and then the city funds a big portion of it, as you can see. So that's indirect cost of the building, salary, my staff, and everything like that to run it. And then we have $22,000 that we get in grants and corporate sponsorships through different agencies like Oak Street Medical, Gila River Indian Casino, or Community, sorry. And then, yeah, those are the two main big ones. And then we have a small amount of donations. You can see this is what we get in donations just from our transportation. We do take in donations also for our meals, but that money goes all to PG since they handle all of our meals and everything like that. They normally donate around like $20,000-ish a year, but that goes straight to PG to cover their costs and everything. Some of our other sponsors we have, so as I mentioned, Central Arizona Council, so they're who handles all of our transportation. They bring in our seniors daily. Superstition Food Bank, I mentioned we partnership through their senior food commodities box. We're able to pick up meal boxes there monthly, sometimes twice a month. Oak Street Health is one of our main sponsors. They sponsor a lot of our bingo and our Mother's Day tea program that we're able to run, our big once-a-year event that we run around Mother's Day. Friends of Apache Junction is who collects some of our donations for our cafe and everything like that. They help pay for some of our extra stuff that the city funds don't cover, like our cafe. We have a small cafe in our lunchroom. Televita is so we got a sponsor or a scholarship through WellCare, which is another healthcare insurance provider. So they're able to scholarship us so we can take part in Televita, and what they offer is different online classes. So they do bingos online, which we stream in our building, tech classes, yoga classes, all those different types of things that we're able to offer about once a week. And then we have various other county, state, and federal agencies that we partnership with just on smaller things and everything like that. And that is a lot of the stuff that we offer. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, I do. So the senior population that you deal with is inclusive only of Apache Junction residents strictly?
No, that is not when people come in, they can be from different areas. We do know about 90% of our folks that use the senior services are City of Apache Junction residents, but they don't have to be. The transportation program, in order to be funded in that, they do have to be a city resident.
Okay. And so the program's the multidisciplinary center and its health club-like benefits, is that part of this?
No, somebody would have to have a separate membership to be part of the Multi-Gen Center. However, many of the classes that JJ's senior staff provide are fitness. They do a lot of the same things that are there. They're just offered specifically for the seniors. If they want to take place in the group fitness or the membership base that's outside of that midday time frame, Monday through Friday, then they would need to sign up for a regular membership.
Okay.
And then that, just so you know, we also have lots of third-party senior service providers that do Silver Sneakers, Prime. Those are insurance-based where they can technically get a free membership through their insurance company. That is a very substantial program at the Multi-Gen Center as well.
Okay, great. And then the other place that becomes problematic for some seniors is the issue with Medicare and or the alternate programs that are private. What sort of assistance do you give them in making selections about that type of care?
Yeah. So we have, Pinal Gila Council, who is one of our main partners, they actually send somebody. We have somebody there once a week that does like legal questions, so they can help with any type of legal aid. And then additionally, they have somebody that comes once a month that does Medicare, and especially during open enrollment time like that, we have people that come in specifically for that time because, navigating that type of insurance and all that kind of stuff is a nightmare for anybody. So they have experts that come in that provide that kind of stuff for us.
So they cover both original Medicare as well as Medicare Advantage plans, is that correct?
Yeah, they have them. They can help them with all that kind of stuff and navigate through, because there's like a million different types of insurance things that they can get on and stuff like that. So navigating through all that, they have experts that come in and help us specifically to do that because we don't know anything about it.
And who assesses them for whether or not they're eligible for dual coverage with access as well as with Medicare?
So that isn't anything that we handle. So as far as being eligible for Medicare or anything like that, that is not anything that we deal with. We really just provide services in the community. Pinal Gila, what they provide is just somebody who can come help them navigate that system. They aren't determining whether they qualify. They're helping them to figure out what they qualify for. So as far as being a part of Medicaid or Medicare, none of that goes through us.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All I'm asking is about some sort of ability to inform them so that they have some choices and can look at that. Because I think a lot of people really don't understand the complexity of those issues.
Yeah, so that's what JG was sharing. Pinal Gila Council, they'll send somebody once a week that sits down with them and can share with them all of the different choices that are out there.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Were there other things, Jennifer, that you wanted to share? I know there's just been questions about where some of the funding comes from or how that is separate from Health and Human Services.
No, I think you covered it because this budget used to be like $100,000, and then when the Mesa partner left, we transferred $20,000 over to you. But that was years ago, and it doesn't even touch the amount of services that you do. So that budget for all of the senior services and everything they do resides in Liz's budget and is separate from this budget. This budget is in mine, and it's for the Health and Human Service nonprofits here. But so she covers senior services and transportation, medical transportation, things like that.
Right, any other questions?
I'll ask one.
Okay.
Sorry. Is there any inclusion or exclusion criteria to participating in this program? I mean, you have to be a senior, obviously, but it comes at an expense, so I would assume some seniors have the ability to pay, some don't. You know, is any of that factored in to be able to maybe gain revenue to drive the program, or is it just if you're a senior and you want to participate, you can?
So through AAA funding, the way the law is written and the way that that funding goes out is that you cannot be discriminatory based on anything. So in fact, we can't charge fees for meals, and meals is through Pinal Gila, or transportation. All we can do is accept donations. And many of the seniors do provide donations, but I would tell you that by and large, the folks that are coming are of need. And so definitely a lot of the funding sources and stuff are put to good use for that. But yeah, we're not able to do anything based on need. The other important thing is that this funding not only covers seniors, so being a senior is one thing, but also individuals with disabilities also can qualify for any of these programs and participate free of charge. Yeah, and spouses.
Thank you.
Right.
And just one last one. So meals, how many meals are provided?
Do you know off the top of your head?
So we did
I mean, is there just one daily or are there two?
every day,
Oh.
Monday through Friday at 11. We serve at 11:30 Monday through Friday every day.
Okay, thanks.
And then home delivered meals are also sent out, and they can have those provided. When there's a holiday, then they'll pick up an extra frozen meal and take that one home when they come to our home delivered meals as well.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you all.
Okay.
So next on the agenda is the interviewing of your nonprofit commissions, or I'm sorry, applicants. You first have the Boys and Girls Club. Would the commission like me to open up the application for each presenter? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Maddie Roberti, and I'm the Director of Grants at Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley. Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley is requesting $35,000 from the City of Apache Junction to support programming for Apache Junction youth. At the Superstition Mountain Club, located at 2805 South Ironwood Drive, the club serves local AJ youth ages 5 to 18 from Monday to Friday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. and from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays when school is not in session. With an average daily attendance of 80 members, this club served 377 Apache Junction youth last fiscal year. We have recently moved our club to a larger location and are looking forward to continuing to serve more youth. The need for us to move to a larger location is a testimony to the fact that the family and youth are being positively impacted by the presence of the club in the community. And we can only continue to grow and serve. As found in our parent survey, 93% of caregivers and parents strongly agree that sending their child to Boys and Girls Clubs makes it easier for them to keep their jobs. BGCAZ serves as a safe and positive environment for youth ages 5 to 18 to learn and grow, providing evidence-based out-of-school time in your community. Partnering with Desert Vista Elementary and Four Peaks Elementary, we have transportation available from the schools to the club and are walking distance from Cactus Canyon Junior High School and AJ High School. We are committed to utilizing the Boys and Girls Clubs of America's formula for impact to help our youth achieve 4 priority outcomes, which are academic success, healthy lifestyles, good character and leadership, and career pathways and workforce readiness. In academic success programming, members engage in daily academic enrichment activities with supportive adults. An example of this programming is KD RAPS, which is a program that includes rapid eye movement tracking to increase their reading skills. This routine of programming aids in completing daily homework and fosters a strong work ethic. We offer activities that reinforce STEM learning, provide opportunities in fine and performing arts, and impart basic financial literacy skills. Healthy Lifestyles programming prioritizes safe and wellness, focusing on social-emotional development. Youth engage in daily physical activities, including sports participation. We have recently piloted BGCAZ athletics, This program provides high-quality, affordable youth sports leagues that empower young people to excel as athletes and grow as individuals. We promote healthy nutrition choices, teach good resistance and decision-making skills, and discourage risky behaviors. Good character and leadership programming promotes members having access to caring adults who foster resilience and respect. They learn to treat each other with dignity while developing their leadership skills. Our youth demonstrate leadership and service within the club and the broader community, understanding their rights and responsibilities. And career pathways and workforce readiness programming includes members participating in career exploration and internship opportunities. This allows them to explore various careers and develop personalized plans for success. A member of the Superstition Mountain branch, Brian R., has been named the 2024 Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley Youth of the Year. Brian joined the Boys and Girls Clubs at a very difficult time of transition for his family. His parents' divorce meant constantly moving around, but the club was a stable, fun place for him to learn and grow. At the club, Brian was able to join LEGO Robotics, participate in character and leadership programs like Torch Club and Keystone, and even met NFL players like Andre Reed and Rondale Moore. He enjoys teaching younger members how to code, as he once learned at the club, and always steps up when staff members need help. The Superstition Mountain branch has allowed Brian to explore his interests, try new activities, and build his character. He prides himself on doing what is right and using his voice to speak up. Brian has built confidence, leadership skills, and compassion through his experience at the club. He aspires to be a construction welder. Brian's experience and future aspirations would not be possible without the staff at the club. Brian has received congressional recognition from Congressman Andy Biggs, which will be honored and announced at our yesteryear celebration on April 20th. Brian is just one of 377 club members who have thrived due to their experience at the Superstition Mountain Club. He is growing into an impactful member of our community, all due to the programming and people within the club. The success of the Superstition Mountain Club in Apache Junction is contingent on the staff. BGCAZ ensures that each club reflects the community that it serves. The branch director, Angela Davis, is a pivotal member of the Apache Junction community. Ms. Davis has been a branch director at BGCAZ since 2013. Ms. Davis is responsible for the culture and programming of the club. Her day-to-day experience speaks on BGCAZ's mission. We need the support from the City of AJ to support staff like Angie in the community. She will now speak about her role at the club and what she does in day-to-day.
Hello. As she said, I'm Angie Davis. I have been the branch director at the Apache Junction Club since COVID hit. Some of our numbers have increased. There's been days that we're seeing about 110 to 115. This space is amazing. We're able to put more programming to use. Daily, our kids are coming off the buses. They get a hot dinner that is prepared through Apache Junction School District. So they provide our heart meals. They provide a snack for our kids in the evenings. We give our kids a chance to do academic programming, 5 different types. We do Power Hour, our homework time. It gives the kids a chance to get their homework done before they go home. We do mindful art, which is also part of our academic. We do reading enrichment and improvement. And all of our grades, they rotate through those programs. So we want to make sure that even our younger kids, that they're able to listen to a story, be able to pull out details, and be able to retell. That's a huge part in the schools. We also do, we've had our kids writing newsletter to where they'll go and interview different members to highlight on our TV screen in our front office. And then we also have, we've been doing some WASED, just kind of some programs on the computers with a lot of STEM, so that goes all into that area. Then the kids come back to the cafeteria and they'll have snack. Then we go out for either Positive Actions or Smart Moves program. So every month we switch it, but it's teaching the kids to feel good about themselves, how to be a friend, all those positive interactions with everybody. Just when COVID hit, we lost a lot of that. So we want to make sure that our members are where they need to be. After that, then we have just some fun programming that the staff enjoys, whether it be art, whether it be cooking, whether it be scrapbooking. I'm trying to think of some of the others that we do in the afternoon. We have a wellness coach who's at our club right now to help with behaviors and things that are going on in our kids' life that some of the staff aren't able to help with. He's there. The kids love him. Peralta Trail is another elementary school that buses to us. So it's like we're lucky to have the 3 elementary schools. We also have some schools in Mesa that bus to us, but 95% of our kids are all Apache Junction school members.
That's really good. So, because I had a question on page 4, it was probably a typo, but you had 2% are AJ residents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, because that seemed to be
Probably 2%
8
are
people.
not.
Yeah, eight people in total.
Yeah.
You did, I mean, I was pleased that you didn't include ACEs in a way. In some ways, I'm bothered because I think ACEs are a big issue. And last time, my big bugaboo was about what's being done to accommodate that, to address those issues that were discovered as people revealed those ACE issues, adverse childhood events. Okay, and they have some real predetermining consequences, both academically as well as socially, with a higher incidence of higher degrees of that, of substance use and criminality. But there's another area that's become prominent of late, partly because of news information about the Gilbert Goons, and it's peer pressure. What's being done to teach about dealing with peer pressure? Now, there was an interesting study that dealt with avatars, and in dealing with these avatars, they had some that had real other adolescents as the foundation of them. There were 3 avatars in one person, and the thrust of it was to see how someone's ethical and moral standards could be modified by the avatars. The other one was all AI-mediated avatars with one individual. And interestingly, the results were pretty broadly similar. It was about 52% changed their position. But with respect to one area, they didn't, and that was violence. And I was kind of surprised in light of all the stuff about the goons, et cetera. So my question is, what's done about dealing with those issues of peer influences? Because they're there. I mean, adults have peer pressures.
Right. So, and between our positive action program and our Smart Moves program program's got several different categories that fall underneath that main topic. But it's like about making good choices and knowing that there's somebody out there to talk to. But it's like a lot of the learning that our members get are in club day-to-day things. Like if we get new members coming in, they've never been in a club before. They have their school day, but as far as being able to interact with others and be able to make those smart choices and being able to use their words is huge. And between the staff and the other members, like the members that have been with us forever, and our wellness coach, we take time to do those teaching moments. And it's like, we don't put our hands on each other. And it's like, if they're making a bad choice, how can we as a member or as a friend encourage them to continue making those good choices versus the not so great choice? But a lot of that, it's between our positive actions and our Smart Moves programs, what our wellness coach is doing, and then our staff, just our rules and our expectations and our agreements. It's like every single time we do a program, we have an agreement, and it's the members are the ones making that agreement, and it's how can we help everybody be able to learn in this program? And it's like, we agree that it's like we're going to use kind words. We agree that we're going to do, so it's like it's teaching them even young, like even our kindergartners and first graders, they have to do those agreements also. But it's like it's holding them accountable for their choices, their actions, but through the programming is our biggest.
Okay, that's great. So there was an experiment that was done with juvenile delinquents, predominantly males, and they divided them into 2 groups. And they had one group that went up, and it was all very public, so it was done within a group setting. And they gave one guy a ball, and they gave another male the directive to get the ball from the one guy. Well, that was disastrous. It led to a lot of physical interaction and tussles to move the ball away. So they quelled that. They brought up 2 more. They repeated it, only they modified it. And they said to the second guy, I want you to ask that guy for the ball. And the thrust of that was to make decisions that you believe will resolve the issue, because your job was to get the ball, but you didn't have to use physical force to do that. It was almost as though there was no consideration of just simply asking, and that was sort of a revelation of sorts as they applied that. The other issue is you make note that in Pinell County, the proficiency in math and reading is horrible. So, in the Power Hour and other things, do you have mentorship specifically for those areas of academics?
We do have staff in there that assist with it. We have some of our older kids that'll come in and help our younger kids. Most of our homework time right now is math and it's reading. As like we also have a Math Hoops program, which is a basketball board game that teaches kids to be a little bit quicker with their adding. And it's like they can compete, and it's like it makes math fun, and they're learning it without realizing that it's not a trick, but it makes it fun. It's like we also do, if we're playing pool, it depends on what grade the kids are in. If they're hitting a ball in, we're adding that number and the next number. So it's like it's any time that we can add math into anything that we're doing, even cooking. Like even our last 2 weeks we had spring break and we made homemade ice cream. So it's like the groups got to do, if we're gonna double this recipe, what are we doing? So it's like anything, like reading the recipe, adding the numbers, doubling, and it's like any opportunity that we have, counting out the pencils. How many are you gonna need? Well, if you're getting for your table and getting, what are we using? So it's like, we do, all of our staff are that way. We also have Alverno College that comes in on Wednesdays, and we have 8 or 9 students that come in, depends on the day, but they are strictly Power Hour. They come in and specifically help for that hour with kids for homework. So that way they're not waiting on another, if it's just 1 staff or 2 staff in there, they're not waiting just for that staff to be able to come in. They're able to help assist as well.
That's impressive. I'm glad. And I'm equally glad that you have people paraphrase articles and other things. I taught in a residency program, and I was amazed at how graduates from medical school couldn't summarize something. They'd parrot back a paragraph that they read, and I'd say, okay, use other words to tell me about that, would you please? And they couldn't necessarily do that, and that was perplexing. The last thing is, I asked a year ago about graduation rates. What sort of success do you have in graduating? Because Pinell County is notorious for about a 79% graduation rate.
So for us, our teen themselves numbers are lower than our grade school numbers. We didn't have any kids that were in the 12th grade last year. We did the year before. We had 2 girls, and they both graduated.
Okay.
This year, we don't have anybody that's in 12th grade, but we do have 11th graders. But it's huge. We are huge on academics. We even check, bring your report card, let us see it. And it's like, kudos to them. We do it on announcements, and we want to make sure that we're acknowledging the fact that when they pass a test and they bring it in, it's always questions. How are you doing? How are you doing? But as far as the graduation rate for us, like I said, our teen numbers aren't that great. They're not that well. I don't want to say. I mean, for us, it's good. We've got 80 to 90 kids that are youth, and we've got 7 or 8 that are teens. Grade wise, they're not as seniors this year.
So
we have juniors.
So what do you think accounts for the attrition? In other words, if you have this large number, 80 or so, but only 10% or less are seniors in high school, what's happening? What's lending to their dropping out?
I don't think it's so much that they're dropping out. We just don't have the kids in the club right now. So it's they're going, so I'm not saying it's like they're not dropping out of school. It's like, for us, we only have a small handful of teens, period. And our teens, we consider it junior high and high school. That's how we group them at our club. But I'm not saying that they're dropping out. I'm just saying they're not in the grade level to be able to graduate. So they're moving up. But as far as getting the teens, yes, as soon as we've acquired this bigger space, we'd love to make sure that we've got enough teens to fill a teen room, strictly teens, and show them the programming, show them the opportunities. Our Youth of the Year program is great. It gives them opportunities for scholarships or, the workforce readiness and career options. We run those kind of programs, but I just think the teens at the high schools don't know. And it's like it is on my schedule to go over and talk with the guidance counselors, because even those kids that aren't members for us, if they're needing summer jobs, what better place to get them started than being able to give back to other kids younger than them. But I mean, we have career launch, we have Money Matters, we have diplomas to degrees. All of those programs align right with that. We also have a Junior Youth of the Year program to go along with our Youth of the Year program, and it's teaching even our junior high kids what steps they need, what skills they need to be able to write essays, to give a speech. and then we do mock interviews. And it's like, we want to give all the kids the success steps that they need, but they've got to be able to come to the club. And for us to go out and reach out to the high school and talk to those counselors and put the word out that, yes, we've got programming, but a lot of the teens are like, oh, it's like a lot of young kids, they don't have necessarily the spot for the teens, but it's our job to go out and let them know that. And that is on our agenda now that we've moved into a bigger area and we have more room and more space.
Okay, and one last question. You mentioned the young man that's going to aspire to be a welder. Is there any integration with EVIT?
Sorry, say that again?
With EVIT, East Valley Vocational Tech in Mesa?
We will have some people that come out from EVIT during the summer. Before, we would take our kids to EVIT and do a tour. Right now, he's working with his dad at his business, and he does like side pay for that, learning those skills now.
Okay.
But he's all about education and getting everything that he needs. So I'm sure, he's a junior this year, so he has another year, but he's a strong, bright young man.
Okay, one last question.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I keep saying one last question. There's one more. The sum requested was 35,000, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you didn't get the full 35,000, how would that encumber your proposal?
We'd be grateful for, of course, any support from the city because any support is good for our kids. But as the premier out-of-school time provider, the 35,000 would go a really long way, especially in this new space. And it's funding general operations, and that would give Angie and the rest of her staff the opportunity to go recruit more teens and see what would attract the teens into the club and provide the other programming for the younger kids and trying to keep them in the clubs.
Okay, thanks.
If you don't mind, I might tag on to that. So your application is a bit different in that, you are part of a larger national organization who reported about $283 million in revenue last year, and your operating budget is about 0.1% of that total. So I wasn't clear in the application as to how much funding you receive annually from Boys and Girls Club in comparison to what, your budget is.
So Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley is its own nonprofit organization. We work underneath Boys and Girls Clubs of America. They're our parent organization. So the funds from the city would go straight to the AJ clubs. And Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley has 32 locations. So everything that we bring in from our fundraisers and everything else gets spread about all our other locations. But we're requesting support from the city to help your community and the youth here.
Sure, so you get none of the $283 million that comes into the
Oh, no, sorry, I misunderstood
organization?
your question. No, we do get some. I just, off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly how much support we get from BGCA, but we're really focused on our own fundraising and grants processes.
I know you guys have an annual fundraiser.
Oh, sorry.
You have an annual fundraiser. How much of that money, how much do you raise in that, and how much of that goes to directly to your programs?
So all of it goes directly to our programs and our staffing and everything that goes into helping our members. But again, with 32 locations and growing and counting, there is just the need for support from our cities and our local communities. And we want to support people like Angie and our other staff that are in the communities and with the kids. And we want to serve your direct youth.
But to follow up on that question, because last year you had a fundraiser, and I believe the Independent reported that you were able to raise $175,000. Of that $175,000, how much did you retain, and how much went out to these other 32 locations?
Are you referring to our yesteryear? That all goes to
Straight to our
Superstition Mountain, yes.
And the reason we have, so it's like some of that funding will go, because we're coming into summer. Our club capacity was 140 kids for the summer. We've expanded, so we're gonna be looking close to probably 180 to 200 kids. We're definitely gonna need the staff, so a lot of that money that comes in helps with that staff cost for the summer, the extra program, the extra materials and stuff that we need as well. And I know, just like kind of to jump back, I know you asked about the retention part. It's like we're getting ready to go into summer. Out of all of our 32 clubs, the Apache Junction Club ended up with the most members that it had an 85% attendance rate over the after-school program. So our club itself had 45 members that have been 85% or higher throughout the after-school program. So for us, that's huge. I mean, as we're a little community and the other clubs are a lot bigger and they do serve more numbers now. But for us, as far as retention, it's like whatever we're doing is working. We've got those kids coming back every single day and the parents are appreciative. We've got those kids coming for the spring break, the summer break, the fall break. So this past, I know we're like really huge on this last week. We did a whole engineering week. So our kids were doing Edison robots. Our kids were doing Spike robots. Our kids made solar ovens. Our kids did drones. That past whole week, it was all about STEM, all about engineering, and it was definitely something the kids are engaged in, excited about, and they definitely want it back for the summer.
Very good.
I have a question on your paperwork where it's the project of minimum 2 SMART objectives. I feel like my brain just glitched. On the left-hand side, it says meet goal of on the very top. It's, I don't know, it says 1. Oh, but it's the very bottom, the very last one, I think. The one that has the SMART project, SMART.
Oh,
See
So
the
towards
last
the
page of
bottom.
this application.
yeah.
For whatever reason, I read it and it's like it just glitched and I need to fill it in. Oh, one more, I think. Right there. So at the top, or at the top of the grid, it says direction of change, meet goal of. Meet goal of what? Is that, it seems like it's just open to me, like it needs a filler or something. What is your goal?
So meeting our goal of graduation progress, participation, retention.
So there was, I misunderstood. I thought there was like a percentage or like you were reaching for a particular goal that you were, like that's our.
It is, so it is, it's a high school, so we want to meet our goal of our on-time high school graduation. And then it's like, as far as our youth participating in the program, we want to meet our goal of 95%. Right?
Yes,
But-
yes,
Like,
yes. And then like the second line, improve physical and mental health, improve youth participation in Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley at 80%.
But I think you implied you had 2 individuals that were seniors. Is that correct?
No, not right now. They have.
we don't have
No.
any. We
None,
did 2,
none.
not this past year, but we did the year before. We
Okay.
had 2.
And both of those graduated?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of those girls ended up with the Renee Parsons Scholarship, which is huge coming from a really small club. So, and they're both working. One of them was working at the club for a while. The other one is working for the organization now with basketball as a second job.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on your agenda is Superstition Food Bank.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brennan and council members or committee members. My name is Eric. I'm the executive director for the Superstition Community Food Bank. And we have submitted a grant requesting $75,000 in assistance from the city. $50,000 we are requesting for general food purchases. And then the $25,000 that we added to this year's grant application is for the student backpack program that we just launched. There's a growing need with inflation not coming down to help our citizens in the East Valley and specifically in Apache Junction meet food security. Last year was a record-setting year for us. We served 42,014 individuals, which was the highest that we'd ever served. The previous year, we served 37,632. And then the year previous to that, we served 12,000. So you can see that it's not a gradual climb, it is a steep climb, and the need has not subsided. it's actually growing within our senior population. It's growing the fastest in that demographic because with fixed incomes, you know that everything else is going up but that fixed income. And so we are seeing a high rise in seniors, and we are also seeing a rise in our 0 to 18 demographic, which is students. So 56% of our food distributed goes to seniors and students.
Okay.
Of the 42,000, 62% are Apache Junction residents. So they live in Apache Junction proper, 85117, 85118, 85119, 85120, and 851, I believe it's 73. So that's what we're asking for. Pure and simple, we're asking to buy food for these different programs. As JJ from Parks and Rec mentioned earlier, we have partnered with them to help the senior population that does not drive. So they are providing the ride to the food bank to pick up the box twice a month. One is a normal box, and then the other one is the senior commodity food box. That is a statewide program. The other organization we've partnered with is Apache Junction Unified School Districts. It was brought to my attention back in October after their first October break that they had 36 staff members that were hourly members of their staff, and because they lose their hours, they lose their income. And so 36 members of their staff needed to take us up on an offer of providing them food for that week after they came back from break. So we have provided that for October break, for December break, and we just sent out 36 boxes today to support them after spring break, which ended last week. So we have continued that partnership. In addition, we've found out that AJUS, or Unified School District, the funds that they normally have to assist families during the breaks and during the weekends dried up fairly rapidly in October as well. And so we had a very generous donor donate $20,000 to the food bank so that I can start a backpack program for those students. The students on Fridays will pick up this backpack. It's nondescript so that people don't know what's in it. And they will take the backpack home, and over the weekend they get food that they would normally not have over the weekend. So there's cereal bars, there's milk, there's fruits. If we can, we will put a fruit item in it. But you know, kids are going to throw this around, and then there's going to be a squished banana all over this. So we are trying to launch that program right now. Currently, I have students enrolled from Four Peaks Elementary and from Cactus Canyon. And next year, with the success of this program, I'm anticipating us sending it throughout the school district to all the other elementary schools where there could be students in need facing food insecurities over the weekend. So that's pretty much us. You know us. We're in the food biz, and we like to make sure that people are not going hungry. I will entertain any questions.
So just to clarify, you give them some kind of backpack on a Friday. They do what they need to do, and they bring it back so that they can get it refilled? Or
That's the hope,
Okay.
is that they bring it back. We also know kids and families, they're going to be forgetful, and so they may not bring it back this week, but they may bring back 2 the following week. So I did have to order a buffer in backpacks just for that reason, with the hopes that I'm not ordering backpacks every 6 weeks, that I'm going to have my 500 that I ordered initially last for quite some time.
So what sort of screening process do you have to provide backpacks for the weekend? How do you learn that these individuals are in that need? And what are the criterion for that need?
Great question. So we sent the enrollment form explaining what the program is on one side, and then asking for the child's information on the second side. We sent that home to all of the parents, and at that point they could elect to be part of the process. Part of that enrollment form says, my family is facing food insecurities and we would like more information about local resources. and they give me their email address, and then we can reach out from the food bank to help the family on the larger level. If there's a kid that slips through the cracks because their parents forget to sign it or didn't want to sign it, the teacher themselves can sign the child up. And then also the child can sign themselves up if they feel like, hey, I could use a little bit more food on the weekend. So it's very relaxed. We chose the 2 schools that we did because we know they have the higher demographic of students in need. So we went with those schools first to see how it was going to work. And we're pleased right now, so yeah.
So the criterion you used for the demographic was the federal poverty level?
I don't know how the school district chose those 2 schools, but those were the 2 schools that they wanted to pilot it at. And they said those were the schools that had the most need in our community currently.
So what do you do with families where, in Spanish it's called orgulloso, real prideful to the point that they are embarrassed to admit that this is an issue? And that can be an encumbrance then to allowing this child to have food, or even the family that they desperately need. And you know, I don't know that they're overwhelming in number, but when you encounter those, how do you solve those?
So this is my 2nd year, going on my 3rd year of being the executive director at the food bank. My first year, I wanted to break down the stigma of going to a food bank. That was my biggest goal, becoming ingrained in the community again, getting involved with parades and festivals and Earth Days and everything that the community has to offer so that people can say, oh, hey, there's the food bank. My volunteers march down the road in food costumes, making, you know, fun of themselves and of the food bank, but creating a more inviting environment for the food bank. We've done so much. We have flowers in front of our building. We decorate for the holidays. Every holiday, the lights on our building change to a different color. It's all about creating that environment of being more welcome, and I think that's how you break down the stigma of the food bank. It's not like I got to go to the food bank, but it's, okay, we got to utilize the food bank. In every speech I give to every community, we are here for that purpose. People give money so that families in need can have food. And our operating budget is, if you count in-kind donations and financial donations, we're looking at like 1.2 million. And it's a pretty big budget, but the reason it's so big is because of the donations that we get from the community. You know, I don't know how to break it down, and what I want to say is not coming out right, I don't think, but there's a lot of effort put into us saying that we're here for a reason. We're here for you to come and utilize us when you need. When you're back on your feet, then you can turn around and give to the food bank so that the next person can come and utilize us. I guess that's easiest form.
You know, I found it interesting that you were requesting 3% of your budget, and yet if I extrapolate that, 75,000 as 3% of X would be $2.5 million. Do you really have $2.5 million available?
Well, that's where it kind of gets hairy, and Jennifer and I kind of talked about this because we have our financial budget, which is about $605,000, and then we have our in-kind donation, which is all the food drives, all the volunteer hours. If we had to pay for everything, then yes, you're looking at a very high budget. If we just take out the in-kind donations, then you're probably looking closer at $605,000. That's financial.
All right. Any other questions?
I do have a question. So back to the 50,000 for the general food, have you noticed an influx? I don't know the borders between Apache Junction, Santan, Queen Creek. Have you noticed an influx of people from Santan?
No, I think our numbers in AJ have gone up. So I think we're closer to probably 64, 65% of the clients being from AJ, whereas it normally sits around 62%. So I think the AJ numbers have gone up, but of course, everything's going up. So, yeah. That's it?
There's your financials. But yeah, most of it is in in-kind contributions. over $2
Yeah,
million.
so if you take if it's, the in-kind is where it becomes great, because you have our food rescue from the 15 stores we go out every morning, and we rescue all the food that's about to expire. That includes produce, and canned goods and all that deli. And if you include that, and if you include our volunteer hours, and you include all that good stuff, then our budget is huge, versus just our financial budget. Thank you.
So next you have Bigger Than Us. Go ahead.
I'll start real quick. Thank you guys so much. We are Brothers in Healing. We're both retired law enforcement officers from the state of Washington. We're both retired through PTSD. We started our nonprofit because we wanted to help first responders and also children, because we were SROs in our local high schools. Back in 2014, I was the SRO on my campus where I lost 5 of my students to a school shooting. And as soon as that happened, we had a lot of issues throughout our community with bullying, with suicide. I think to this date, my kids that I had during my 6 years, I think I've lost about 12 to 15 due to suicide. And I've lost through other violence, through things that happened. And we started this because we wanted to go around and really bring hope to kids and to the community. And what we're going to ask for is, it's not just the school kids, the high school and the junior high kids. We're also going to tie it in with the whole community with an event that we're going to talk about where our funds go for. Like I said, I did 20 years as law enforcement. We don't pay ourselves through our nonprofit. This is 100% we give back to what we receive, and it's all just through fundraisers and through grants.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. My name is Jeremy Wood. I was
Jeremy, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you'll speak into the mic.
Yeah, no problem. You would think we'd have that figured out by now, right?
No, tell your speakers.
Oh, okay, gotcha, yeah. I was a law enforcement officer for 23 years. I retired, like Chris said. Chris and I were in charge of all the schools in our community, and we had the largest schools in Washington State at the time. And our high schools were divided into 2. He had about 1,700 kids. I had about the same. And what we discovered, much to my surprise, is all the bullying and harassment that was going on in the schools, and actually crimes being committed on our schools that were not being reported. And what happened is that allowed that activity to continue year after year, day after day. And Chris and I said, well, we can either complain about it or step up and do something about it, but how do we do that? We didn't know. As police officers, we weren't trained for that in the academy. And there's a crime? Sure, you write a police report. That's the end of it. That's not how it works with our juveniles and our youth, because you don't just throw the key away and lock them up in jail and then end of story like you can do on the street, right? And we don't want to do that. We want to work with the youth a little bit and create some cultural change in our communities. And who wants to work with a bully? You know, when we talk with businesses, they're like, we get these kids who come up and, you know, nobody wants to work with a bully and someone who can't get along with other people. And that's where we saw the need for a big change. With that being said, I'd like to dedicate this presentation to a student who's lost. We met his mom, and this goes out to Daniel Briggs. I promised his mom, after hearing her story, I would never forget him and never forget to say his name. So thank you for that time, for allowing me to do that. This next video that I want to show you guys tells a little bit more about Chris and I apologize for my voice. And I also would like to take time to apologize for our application. Apparently there were some data issues in the transfer of data going back and forth. I don't know how. I can't answer that for you because I'm not tech savvy, but I don't know what happened. We got the latest computers at Costco, and they assured us that everything was preloaded, or that we bought would be loaded on there and we could do it. So I'd like to take that time to apologize before we get started too. So thank you for that. And this is the story. This is the mom of Daniel here. We have
From New York. been married for 22 years.
He's also a
we
teacher
have
in
two
the school
beautiful
district
children.
he's talking about.
Michael is a great kid. He loves sports. He plays lacrosse. He's bright, top of his class. Daniel was an old soul. He had a soft side of him that was second to none for a kid his age. He wanted to help people. Our neighbor down the road had cancer, and Daniel was by his side every day. Daniel went over and sat and talked to him and held his hand. And after he died, Daniel went over and helped his wife. It wasn't like he was doing it out of obligation either. He did it because he truly wanted to do it. That's who he was. Daniel had really been bullied most of his school career. When he hit high school, it exploded. He didn't fit in with a lot of the crowds. He wasn't into sports. He was into hunting and trapping, which not a lot of kids his age are into. So he had a hard time finding kids who had common interests with him. So that made him a target a lot of the time. It started out with words. He was called just horrible names. It progressed to having trash thrown at him. He was punched in the stomach. He was made to lick a bus window. He was jumped from behind walking to the buses. He was ridiculed for the music he listened to. You name it. They looked for any little thing just to make his life miserable. When he was jumped walking to the bus, the boy told him the night before that he was going to do it. He said to him in a text, "Why? I know you don't like me. That's why I don't come near you. I don't have any interactions with you. I respect that. Why can't you respect me? What have I done to you?" His response was, "Because you're a pussy and you need your ass kicked." It makes no sense to me even today. One of the kids that Daniel had a lot of issues with had texted him. I saw the text myself. And it said, "Why don't you take one of your precious guns and do the world a favor, go kill yourself?" He texted that same kid and he said, "You won't have to worry about me anymore. I'm going to go home and kill myself." And the kid came back with, "Put up or shut up." That day, he told people in lunch, he had told people in his classroom, told a number of people on the bus that he was going to kill himself. Those were his words, "I'm going home and I'm going to kill myself." And the bus driver said, "I'll see you tomorrow, Dan." He told the bus driver, "You won't see me tomorrow." The one person he knew that would do something was the last person he texted and the last person he called, his hunting friend Matt. He knew Matt would try to call us, and he said to Matt, "Please don't call my mom. My mom will take me to the hospital." He was trying to keep Daniel on the phone, get his sister's attention. He was writing her notes and having her call their father, who's a friend of my husband's. And we missed the call. We missed the call. We came out of Michael's basketball game, and my husband Rob said, "I missed a call from Cal. I'll call him when I get home." Next thing happened, literally within a minute of saying that, so our other friend Wally calls. Now, guys don't talk to each other all the time. And Rob runs to the van, and he said, "Daniel's talking suicide." I called my next door neighbor, and I begged her to go over and check on him. And she walked in the door and she yelled, "Daniel." And she thought she heard him say something, and she shouted out, "We love you." And then she heard the shotgun blast. And I ran to his room, and the sight that I saw was horrific. It was horrific. And I remember hearing myself screaming, but I couldn't feel it. And running back outside. And I could hear Michael screaming, "I want my brother back." And every EMT EMT that showed up, I begged him, please just find a pulse. I'll take him any way that I can have him. No, there was none. I've played a million scenarios over in my head what I would do if I was there 30 minutes earlier. Knowing what I know now, I would just wrap him in my arms and just beg him and tell him how much he means to so many people. Because so many people have talked to us since he died. They've sent us letters. I received letters from kids his age. I just wish he knew how much he meant to so many people. He did matter. He does matter. His book bag with his books, still right on the bench where he left it that day. We will never recover from this. Never. When somebody tells you that they are going to kill themselves or they're going to do harm, do something. Tell somebody, give them their 15 minutes. Validate them. Because everybody needs to be validated. When you know there's somebody being bullied, don't be a bystander. You are just as guilty as the bullies when you stand by and do nothing. You see it, you do something about it. You don't want to intervene, then you talk to an adult. And you talk to an adult until somebody does something.
You can see why we're so passionate about what we do. You meet a mom like that, it just really hits you. Chris and I had the opportunity to fly her down to Washington State from New York where she lived, and we said, well, we met her at training, and we said, we want to make a change after seeing her video. How do you suggest it? And she had a lot of suggestions, and we listened, and we took notes, and we did those things. We had the opportunity to fly her down to Washington State so she could see our anti-bully campaign and what we did in the schools, and this was her direct quote after seeing all that. And I share that with you, not to give myself a pat on the back, but I just want you to see where our hearts are at. There's so much going on that doesn't get reported, that doesn't get stated, that gets swept under the rug, and we want to bring light and attention to it. And as uncomfortable it is to watch a video like that, I think it's important that we lean into that a little bit and understand what's really going on in the schools, because bullying has changed now since even Chris and I went to school. It doesn't just end at school now with social media. They go home, they log on to their social media accounts, and now there's 60 to 100 other people joining in, even if it's a thumbs up or a like on a negative comment, right? Well, for these kids, their perception of that is everybody hates me now, and that perception is their reality, right? They don't want to go to school anymore. And when they're in that fight or flight, worrying about their safety, how can they learn? You can't. Your amygdala's overfiring, you know? There's no way you're going to sit through class. You're worried about getting jumped or hit or spit on or degraded, and that's what we're trying to do, put a dent into it. This video here tells a little bit about Chris and I and our journey as school resource officers. It's a quick little clip.
So my 10.5-hour day as a school resource officer, most of that day, I would have to say, is spent on bullying. My partner and I would sit at coffee and talk about what we were doing, and every day it was about bullying, it was about harassment, it was about intimidation.
I see kids who are depressed, they're not enjoying life, it breaks your heart, and it makes you want to take a stand and do what's right.
We couldn't figure out what to do.
One of the things that we had to take a look at was we had to look at ourselves and say, what are we doing that's not working? You know, that was the toughest part, to realize that, you know, I was one of the biggest problems in my high school because I had that old mentality, that old way of thinking.
It was so easy to be reactive. It comes to your office, this is what's happened, and they want you to write a report. And send it off, and it doesn't go anywhere, and nothing happens. No resolution happens.
Yeah, but what change did you really make in that person's life? You didn't. And so the cycle continues. Everybody says, oh, hey, we're tired of seeing these tragedies happen. Well, let's do something about it. You got to take a proactive approach. So when you first hear about that incident occurring, go attack that problem right now. Dive into it. Why is this occurring? Who is this between?
We need our juvenile prosecutor on board. We need our principals, our vice principals. We need our teachers. We need our nurses. We need all the counselors. Everyone who works in a school, we need them.
And you can dive in and dissect what's going on in this person's life that's causing them to be a bully. And these kids are hungry. They want to change. They don't feel good about themselves. And let's teach kids conflict resolution and teach them how to be kind. And some people will tell you, well, that's not the school's job. Well, then whose job is it?
You know, we started this with 2 of us, then it went into the school district, we pushed it out into the community. So we want you guys to know that you can do this, you can bring the whole community together. It just takes passion.
I don't want to see another kid decide not to go to school because they don't feel safe. I don't want to see another child commit suicide because they've been bullied.
So in that video, I want to clarify whose job is it. I made that comment. Yes, it's the parents' job. And then when they don't step in and take care of it, then whose job is it? It's all of ours. And that got cut short. Yes, I believe parents are key to this whole thing. And so is putting together an entire team if you want to create change. This is one big problem. It's the CDC put out, it's a second leading cause of death for our youth. They changed the age to 10 to 14 here. It's second only to traffic collisions and firearm accidents. Here's what I want to share about that. When I ran the stats, when I was a school resource officer, they separated those things. I believe that suicide rates are higher than what they are. I think they get labeled as accidents because it's still an embarrassment for a family to say that my son or daughter took their life that way. How do we make a difference? I know that we have limited time, so I'll go down to what's highlighted there. You put a complete team together for the victim, and everything's listed there. And what happens is that shifts the balance of power of it being between the bully and the victim. Now you got an entire team that's working together to solve this problem. The message that it sends to the bully is we're not going to tolerate it, okay? And through our anti-bully campaign that we're asking for funds for, it's the entire community that's involved too, because there is a community night. And when your entire community and your cities say, or your towns saying, we're not going to tolerate this, that's a huge message. That's probably one of the biggest messages you can send to the bullies. And you brought up, Dr. Brennan, about the Gilbert Goons. That was one of the things that we don't think about. Some of the biggest bullies in the school are actually gang members, because every kid knows that you're not just dealing with that one kid. Oh, no, he's connected to an entire gang. You're taking on the entire gang. Well, Chris and I, we had gangs in our schools. I had 3 different gangs that would come out and outright and say they were gang members. We solved that problem by working with the school resource officers in the schools to create a dress code that they could wear. You can't have any gang paraphernalia. If your gang is red, I'm sorry, you can't wear red. Well, Chris's school had red. Okay, so now what do? Okay, now you just modify it and you put them on this gang contract thing. You say, you can wear red, but it has to be your school's logo on there. They don't want that. They're like, forget it. I don't want to wear red then, okay? So my point in bringing this up is Chris and I have a lot of knowledge of what works because we figured it out the hard way by falling flat on our face. And in that video, you'll see me take ownership and accountability. I have to be transparent with you. We were the biggest problem in our school because we just didn't know how to handle it. We were just being reactive, not proactive like we're trying to share with you. So we got the teachers on board with this. We got the school counselors on board with this. We got psychologists that they had at the school on board with this. We had this big campaign, what we did was we had poster contests. And we said, hey, we're going to have this motivational speaker come for our assembly thing. And these are some of the artwork that the kids did on their own. There was prizes, $100 for first prize, second prize, $75. And this is all done by the students. And we said, well, hey, not everybody's an artist. If you asked me to draw something for you, I couldn't do it if my life depended on it, right? And so we said, also, we'll take key phrases that are impactful and make a difference. So that way, everybody can be involved. And the kids loved it. I mean, these posters were everywhere in the locker rooms, in the hallways, upstairs, in the gymnasiums. 1,700 of these posters up everywhere with positive messages about treating others with kindness and not bullying and step up and say something. And it was just a huge, huge, awesome thing to take place. We went out and got media attention. We sought the newspapers out and said, hey, we're bringing this former pro wrestler in. He speaks all over the nation. We're going to have a community night. They ate it up. They publicized it out everywhere, got the community involved. We rented out a room at a local casino, and it was so, the community and the parents showed up because I'll tell you what, right now parents, they want to know what's going on in the school. They want to know, what are you teaching my son or daughter? Oh, you had an assembly? Who was there? Well, this is the prime opportunity for parents for this community night to come and see exactly what they heard from this presenter. And that's what the funds go for, and the parents love it. I love it as a parent. I want to know what my kids are being taught. I want to know who's teaching them, who's programming them, quote unquote, okay? And then we pushed it out to the Police Youth Academy. We said, hey, you guys want to be leaders in your community? You want to be first responders? How you start is by speaking up when you see someone being bullied or harassed, or you see a crime. You step up and you report it, right? Huge thing. And we did that, and we had an opportunity to work with the Youth Academy here in AJ. And we mentioned that to some of the school resource officers there, and they thought it was a great idea. It's a great way to start the movement going. And then we get to our speaker, the kind of bread and butter of what we're talking about. He's a different kind of speaker, and why he's so important is not only does he have the ethical standards that I would want for a person stepping foot in the school, but after his presentation, the kids gravitate toward him, and I got a quick video on that. He sends out to the school resource officers and the psychologists on campus and the counselors, he'll put an asterisk next to a student who reaches out and says, I'm hurting. Some of what you shared really impacted me. I thought about taking my life. He does it privately. So that message goes to the people who it needs to go to, and they call those students in. And I got to tell you, how many people did you have at your school that you had to follow up with, the kids?
Probably hundreds.
Okay, I was at 150. And I made sure I met with every single kid. I prioritized. He'll put an asterisk. Low priority is 1, asterisk 2 is high and medium, and then 3 is highest, right? And so I just triaged it and went down. I got all those kids into counseling sessions with their counselors and psychologists there. And it was a huge, huge thing. I didn't lose any kids at my school like Chris did. We didn't want to have that happen again. And so that's what makes him a lot different than the other speakers. And that being said, segues into the last video real quick. Here's what we're trying to do, and here's what we're trying to bring.
His passion really for speaking towards like students who are struggling with all their issues, I think that's the major thing that spoke out to me.
His message is fantastic. It's about character, it's about love, it's about choices that you make in life. He will totally change the lives of your kids and give them a will to live and a will to reach goals that they never thought that they could set before. He was amazing.
We can no longer back down. We can no longer sit down. We are going to stand up, step up, and speak up against bullying and abuse because there is zero tolerance here. And if you're with me on that, I would love to hear it right now. Repair broken relationships. Reach out to an old friend of yours. You guys used to be so close.
Just inspired and touched by his message. I think it's so genuine, and so many people can relate to that I really feel that very strongly that he reached many kids here at Helena High School. And
it was touching to me because one of my friends recently passed in the summer. I wish I spent more time with her and treated her better because, life is short.
Well, when he talked about his mother, that was the one thing that inspired me the most. I cried the whole time. Yeah. Life's a gift, and you can never forget it. All you gotta do is believe, and that's what it's all about.
Fundraiser that we did, we went out and raised money for the community. Like I said, we had a great night. stuff. And so that's what we're asking for, so we can bring that to the students here at Apache Junction and also the parents, and they can see what's going on, to bring everybody on one page and hopefully battle the suicide and the bullying that we have with the kids.
You know, question. I don't know Mark Merrow, not that I know everybody in the world, but apparently he seems pretty dynamic, very evangelical in some ways. So with that though, what portion of your budget is required to bring him into town?
So he charges $5,000 per presentation.
And how many presentations per community do you have him make?
Well, here in AJ, we wanted to do 3. Two for the schools, and then 1 for the community night for the parents. And with that, we would bring in some snack foods and beverages and things like that for the community. And then also, we'd have to find a spot to host it at. Hopefully, we could find that a place to donate that we wouldn't have to pay. So, yeah.
So you're right, you know, suicide is the second leading cause of death between 10 and 34 years of age.
Yeah.
And Arizona has a plan, by the way. Arizona Department of Health Services has a 2024 to 2026 suicide action plan. And that is budgeted in a way that it deals with the whole state. It deals with all of the demographics. So they sought out information from Native communities, Hispanic communities, etc. And I'm wondering whether or not you could tap into that resource to have some greater accessibility and utilize resources that they might make more available to you. I was an adolescent adult psychiatrist, okay? So.
Oh, fantastic.
So I really understand.
Yeah,
okay?
You get it then.
But, and it's a difficult task.
Yeah. It's huge. Takes a lot of work.
Yeah, that mom's story was remarkably moving. With that, so with that, yeah, I guess I am. So yeah, I'm in blast off. Okay, so with that though, you know, you're right. There was a mix-up. I wondered where was all of the information because it wasn't there. So you're requesting 15 grand, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay. Essentially, you're just requesting enough for his visits.
That's correct. That's correct.
We don't pay ourselves out of our nonprofit. We just live off our medical retirement. So what we do, we give back, whether it's sending somebody to mental health rehab, like a first responder, or when we do this for the kids, this part of it. So whatever we bring in, it goes, we give pretty much 100% right back into it.
Okay.
Into what we do. So we don't ask for anything more or less than what we need for the event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're right. The schools have to be invested in this. And one can wonder what went on in Gilbert, that they were oblivious to the behavior of the goons. I mean, that's just a blatant example of the bullying that went on. And it was really gangster-like.
Unfortunately, that's very common in our society, to miss the red flags.
Yes.
And we haven't put enough emphasis on catching those red flags and what do you do when you see the red flag. Every time we see a mass shooting at a university or something, oh yeah, we've known it for years that he was a whack job.
Exactly.
Okay, what did we do along the stops to stop that?
Exactly.
The question I have here is you reference in your video that at the end of his presentation, he meets with the kids and then he gives you a list with asterisks and stuff on it. Do you follow up with those kids to see if what's going on after this presentation?
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry I wasn't clear when I spoke before. After his presentation, it's primarily the kids. They don't really do it right in front of their own peers, their own tribe, right? They send messages out to his social media site, okay? Because he runs a pretty good social media site, and the kids, that resonates with them, right? And they'll send messages to him, hey, I'm really hurting inside. I was thinking about taking my own life. And what he'll do is he'll put 3 asterisks on that, and then he has like almost like a computer database spreadsheet that he puts. So from each school, each student, he'll put their first name and then the asterisk by it first and last name if they give it to him, and then he'll forward that list on, is what he does, say, hey, FYI, these are the kids who are really hurting that reached out, that were crying out for help. And he'll triage them 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, kind of thing. And so it was really helpful for us. Like I said, I had 150 kids that I had to go deal with, and I was thankful because I'd rather take the time and do it there than after the fact, after a tragedy has happened. So that's what he does. And then all communication is basically shut off. He won't communicate with the kids on a regular basis, you know, like,
Okay,
because that's kind of.
he passes that off to you guys.
Yeah, he passes it off to us, and then we make sure it goes to the right individuals.
And the way it stays confidential is a lot of times what we'll do is we'll have the counselor, we'll call the student in, and the counselor will just be like, hey, I've talked to a few of your friends, and they said you were kind of hurting during this presentation. So they keep it pretty much 100% confidential, so the kids don't know that, you know, they don't want Mark Merrill ratting on them or whatever they call it these days, you know, or, you know, the police know their business. And so it's able to be handled that way.
So you have a role with the police academy, and actually the feedback I got, Jennifer had some insights and said that the response was that they really benefited from that. As I revealed, you know, I'm retired now, an adolescent adult psychiatrist, but I also was an administrator for various organizations, and the largest was Magellan of Arizona with 88,000 lives. We integrated with the police department to deal with issues in dealing with people with mental illness so that they weren't abruptly trying to intervene with them. There was a better way that de-escalated the situation. And so I'm wondering whether or not you all have employed that, as well as do you expect the police to be intervening at schools to deal with bullying and other things?
No, unless it meets the certain criteria of what's going on, i.e. criminal activity, assaults, physical assaults going on. And the reason why I like police involved at that level is that that's actually a crime that's occurring, right? And when they don't intervene and don't at least make a documented report that's a factual report that stays on the docket in the record there, we found that a lot of times a kid would go around and assault 3 or 4 students, and the school resource officer was not made aware of it, and so that pattern of behavior continued and the impact continued. Simple things like harassing online, not necessarily. I chose to be part of it because I really wanted to make a change, and what I would do is I would educate the kids on what the law said about harassment, because they're not taught that in school. They don't know what the law actually says. And then I would show them, if you keep continuing from this point, it could be considered a criminal act, you know, and here's where you need to stop, and that kind of thing. So, no, I don't expect the police to intervene on every single situation, but a good school resource officer has a pretty good radar of what's going on their campus, and a lot of the feedback they get is from the staff that's involved with the disciplinary action. Hey, little Johnny, he's been on the radar now. This is the 4th incident I've had with him. Officer Wood, would you mind coming in my office? I'm going to discipline him again. And he was harassing a student. Would you share with him from a police officer standpoint where harassment is? And then it's more of an educational piece. And that went really far. And so did mediations. And that's what we teach too. We're big on mediations because a lot of this is kids that just don't know how to deal with interpersonal conflict, and interpersonal communication is not their forte. You gave an example of the ball, not go take the ball away. You get it. I'm not kidding you. They a lot of times resort to physical violence or force first, right? Other than using their words. And it's also, I think it's really important to have that those mediations, peer-to-peer mediations, because with an adult in the room, I don't want you to think we just let the kids up, but that's teaching them conflict resolution right then and there on a real live event. And I got far with those. And you could do those at the lower level things before they progress. And it really sent a message like, you're not going to tolerate it. You know, when the school starts intervening on things like that and pulling in and then calling the parents and saying, hey, I just want to let you know I had to talk to your son or daughter about an incident that was occurring. It was on social media. I have the social media printout here, and you send it home to the parents. A lot of times that took care of it right then and there. Most parents were great to deal with. The problems I had was gang members often got into gangs because their family members were in gangs. My attitude was school has to be a gang-neutral territory, period. Otherwise, nobody can get along. And there was not one gang member parent that could argue with me on that. They said that's fair enough, kind of thing.
Right, that needs to be a safe place, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And there's nothing worse than, I mean, you know, we've all had jobs where you don't want to go into work. Now that's the same thing. That's their kids, that's their work. They're going in there, now they're going to a place where they're being bullied and harassed and nothing's being done about it. It's horrible. It's absolutely one of the worst things that, you know, we can do. And then another thing that I've also seen a technique is, well, you need to take a stand with the bully. Well, a lot of these kids don't have that quality in them. They don't want to take a stand. They're not the you know, aggressive alphas. They're meek and mild. That's just not, they're timid, you know, and to tell a kid, well, you just need to go deal with it on your own and send them to the wolf, who's the bully, you know, go deal with it. That's not the right thing. And we're asking kids to change who they are. They're not, and you're asking the victim, he hasn't done anything wrong. He or she hasn't done anything wrong. Why are we doing that? And so that's one of the things that we bring up when we get this program going. We talk with the staff too, is quit asking kids to get outside of their character at this age. They're just kids. They're still learning and developing. And sometimes taking a stand for yourself and sticking up for yourself in the appropriate way takes time and training and things. It's not just a gift that you're given at birth. And it can be really intimidating. I know when I was in school, there were seniors, there's no way I would take a stand. This guy was a collegiate wrestler. He would dominate me, you know, so to speak. There was just no way you could do that. And so we bring that part up too. Like you said, there's a lot that goes on in the school behind this program, behind the scenes that we didn't even get to dive into today. But like you said, it takes a lot of work, and we're not blind to that.
So with 15,000 requested, and you're going to focus on that one area, that discards the issue with the veterans. It discards the issue with the police. What happens to those attributes that were part and parcel of what you were doing?
Nothing. We're going to continue on. This is just like dessert for us. So because we still have a fundraiser that treatment facility place is doing in Utah for first responders. We're currently speaking. We took a gig at Oceanside Police Department for 12 training sessions on first responder suicide. We've completed 6 so far, so we're still on that mission too. We just feel like we have to dive back into this after seeing the Gilbert Goons. I'm on social media, going through my kids' social media pages. I'm seeing assault after assault take place on school. I'm seeing girls harassing girls in the hallway, and it just rekindled my spirit a little bit and said, hey, let's get back into this. And I thought, what could we do with the money? How could we be good stewards with the money that we receive? The best way I can think of and to make an impact in the community is put it right back into the community, okay? But if an officer from AJ said, you know, Mr. Wood, I'm really hurting inside, I think I need treatment, I want to go to a treatment facility place, I will find a way to get that money to them, no problem at all.
So, you know, I appreciate that posture. The difficulty I found with military personnel and police is that it tends to be a career-ending move.
What does? I'm not following you.
To reveal that you have a mental illness that needs to be addressed, because that's really discriminated against.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's changing a little bit, and we have personal experience about this. Go ahead.
We both put ourselves through a 35-day treatment facility in Utah. So we both put ourselves through a 35-day treatment facility in Utah. And I ended up going back to work and worked for another 8 months until my psychologist said, you can't, you know, everything is flashing back. And so that's the other thing we're doing when we speak to first responders and military veterans is we're trying to break that stigma that, hey, it's okay to not be okay to ask for help. And so that's why we do both sides, is work with the first responders and the military veterans in an adult setting. And then when we work with the kids in the school setting, we bring this professional speaker who has spoke around the whole world and brings such a good message and we had such good outcomes with it.
Well, I want to address, I thought you were going to address his specific thing that he said. I apologize for that. Okay, there's, from our department, when Chris and I put ourselves through the treatment facility place, we were one of the first to take a step forward and admit that, and there was currently 12 other individuals who followed in our footsteps, and there's currently 9 that went to treatment who came back who are currently working as police officers now on patrol with no issues related. So I think that is starting to change. Because of the positive messages that are going around, and there is a lot of help for those with PTSD, and you can put a dent in it by going to treatment. Unfortunately for Chris and I, we just didn't know that, We had so much compound trauma. We were the older generation of first responders. You just drank it away, to be honest with you and transparent. That's how, when I got in my shooting, there was a half gallon of whiskey on my windshield. Glad you're okay, hurry back to work. That's how we dealt with it. And eventually your brain, as you know from psychology, it's like a sponge, it just starts to overflow, right? And so a lot of these officers now that are coming up, they're talking about it in the academy. And so when they're having these hot calls and suicide calls and whatnot, now the department is stepping in and saying mandatory to go see a psychologist. That wasn't the case before. So I think the tide is starting to turn a little bit in that area, which gives me a lot of hope.
So going back to the students, is there a particular segment, age group of students that you want to focus on?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. Yes. 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then all of high school. We find like there's something that just, maybe you can answer this for us since with your knowledge in psychology. Around the 6th to 7th grade age is where we start seeing a lot of the bullying really start to take place, to where it starts to turn even more violent, physical. And then with the girls, it's oftentimes more a group attacking another female on social media. Starting in 6th and 7th grade is where we saw the biggest thing. And we had no clue. Chris and I had absolutely no clue. I mean, we were awestruck.
Do you reach out to the younger groups at all? Because I know my wife ran a home daycare, and she used to deal with kids of from different walks, and she would try to do redirect their activities. She had one time that the kid took something. The kid took the other kid's toy, so the kid hit him. So she sat him down and said, "Could you have done something differently?" He said, "Yeah, I could have bit him." But this kid was like 7 years old, and he was already starting on that path of being a bully. Yeah. And so a lot of times when I saw bullies in high school and junior high, they started when we were in elementary school. So are we reaching those kids too?
Yes, I will say this. So my wife is an educator at Four Peaks. She's been in education for about 15 years now. She's actually just finishing up her teaching degree. She's been a para in the behavior programs. And so I've worked with her personally, because back in Washington, she was a para over on the reservation. And she would have me come over there and hang out with the kids because of all the trauma on the reservation. And she says, "Will you come be a police officer and be a positive impact on these kids?" And I'd go over on the Fridays and we'd hang out with the kids. And so it is happening then. The only thing that we haven't found yet is how to address that young of an age group. Right now, what we have is at the 6th grade level and up, responsibly, I guess is what I want to say, because we have gone and talked to elementary schools when we were still working as the SROs. We'd go put on little mini presentations, just fly by the night, and talk about bullying and talk about that kind of stuff and what's going on at home to try to open that conversation with them too. And I hear it all the time, every day from my wife. I mean, my wife's nose has been broken by a kindergartner who threw his head back. So we know about the younger generation. Just responsibly, right now we have to work on the 6th grade through the high school kids immediately until we can figure out a better way to address the elementary kids.
Are you currently active in any AJ schools right now?
I'm sorry?
Are you currently active in any AJ schools right now?
I am not personally, just my wife is. We are active as far as working with the SRO program. Like we did, we helped them during their youth academy, I think the program they have. We went and we were actors for them. We went and we talked to them a little bit, and we talked to some of the SROs. So we're trying to get ingrained with that. We also do want to put on training for the Apache Junction Police Department and the fire departments. We've reached out to them too, and that would be a separate thing. That wouldn't be like this grant. That'd be a different thing. And a lot of times when we go do those, we'll ask for a speaking fee just to pay for someone else that's going to get help. Because like I said, we don't pay ourselves. But we'll just say, hey, we'll charge you this much, and then we'll go do our training for that. And then we get a lot of feedback from those guys too, and girls.
So you did the live situational reenactment with the AJPD cadet program.
Yes.
Early this year or last?
That was early, yes.
Yeah. Earlier this year, okay.
We did, and then we went back, fearing that we may have traumatized them too much, because they said, "Yeah, no, be a real bad guy, give them what you want." And then we went to the Scores, is it? Their after-hour party to hang out and mingle with the kids a little bit more and show them a different side of who we are, that kind of thing, and it was well received. One of the things that we're real cautious of is we wait till we're invited. We don't try to push ourselves just because it's not our show, and we have to have a little humility with that. So to answer your question, we are more than happy when invited, to assist any way we can because we believe in making change.
So then how long have you been active in AJ?
Well, just since we moved, I've 3 years total.
3 years and 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I believe next is New Leaf.
Oh.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Dana Martinez, and I'm the Director of Domestic and Sexual Violence Services for A New Leaf. CAFA services are under the purview of A New Leaf now, and I want to share a little bit about our CAFA services. So we have a domestic violence shelter here in Apache Junction that has holds 16 individuals. We provide crisis intervention, case management, psychoeducational groups, resources and referrals in connection with housing opportunities for all the residents living in our shelter program. And then we also have our CAFA outreach site where we have advocates that are mobile and community-based advocates. They can go out into the community and serve individuals who may not be in shelter but may need assistance for various things. We have lay legal advocates who support survivors in navigating civil and family law processes. And then we also have a domestic and a sexual violence advocate who work with people in the community who may need additional support, resources, advocacy, case management, and navigating through their they're getting out of their domestic violence situation. And then we also have an empowerment counselor who provides counseling services to anybody you've referred, either internally or externally, who's a survivor as well. A New Leaf is requesting $7,000 for our CAFA services to support intimate partner violence and sexual violence survivors with a measure of safety and security. With the housing boom in Apache Junction and nearly 7.5% population increase since 2020, it's evident that Apache Junction is growing rapidly. While this provides a lot of positives for the future, the downside of having many more people in the community is that there are more instances of domestic violence, with statistics indicating that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 4 men experience sexual violence, physical violence, and/or stalking by an intimate partner during their lifetime. It's fair to say that calls to the Apache Junction Police Department for IPV-related crimes have increased. And they have actually said that to us during our monthly meetings. We do work with the Apache Junction Police on a regular basis. They come and meet with us on a monthly basis. We talk about what's going on in the community, how can we support, how can, making sure that our connection and resources together are working. About 1.5 years ago, when Chief Pooley came out and visited with us, he let us know that the homicide rate due to domestic violence in Apache Junction in the 3 years had been higher than it had in the previous 10. And so we thought, what can we do to help support this? And we created an emergency crisis response protocol for law enforcement that would give them a way to help get survivors directly into hotels without having to bring them to our facility. For those of you who know about domestic violence shelters are always full, and it's hard to get survivors into shelter. It could take several weeks to several months to get in. So we wanted a way for them to connect them with somewhere safe to go immediately, and then connect with our survivors, with our staff. I'm sorry. As we continued our monthly meetings with the PD, they let us know that their officers were a little bit confused about that process. And so we were able to work with our IT team to create a hotline dedicated only for the Apache Junction Police to call, so they would have access to one of our staff 24/7. This helped us get more referrals to that emergency crisis response and get people into a shelter quicker, into a hotel quicker and safer. During another one of our meetings, we asked the PD what were some of the most other needed items besides the hotels, and some of the things that they identified were transportation, such as bus tickets or rideshare fees to get people where they need to go, quick access for food for survivors and their children, prepaid cell phones, and emergency assistance for things like clothing and toiletries and basic needs. Again, a lot of times when a survivor leaves, they leave with it, whatever they have on them and their purse in some cases, and that's about it. So as a result, our request to Apache Junction for the $7,000 includes funding for hotels, emergency food, transportation, and for those essential needs. Last year at CAFA, we served 93 Apache Junction residents with all kinds of different services. In addition, we provided 53 nights in hotel for IPV and SV survivors. The funding we're requesting will help support 50 survivors of Apache Junction with those various needs. We're grateful for the support and the opportunity we have to serve this community and serve all survivors. We can't do this work alone. We know that it takes a collaborative approach with not only law enforcement and city officials, but with dedicated citizens like yourselves who do this work. So I thank you for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Well, because I was a medical director of a New Leaf for 4.5 years, I asked Jennifer whether or not I had a conflict, and apparently since that's over 10 years ago, that conflict doesn't exist anymore. So I'm very cognizant of the fact that there is a women's domestic violence shelter way out in Glendale. And I have to assume that some individuals from Apache Junction might go there.
Yeah, actually, at times that they do. We actually get a few Apache Junction residents coming into the shelter here as well. But what's also happened is at the shelter in Glendale, we opened up transitional housing space as well. And so some of our survivors at the shelter here have moved into transitional housing out in Glendale. So that's been a great opportunity for them.
So I want to question something because I got lost at a couple times where you had fiscal year 23, and I think you meant fiscal year 24 because it said you anticipate 1,020 individuals. And then you used what I'll describe as a mixed metaphor. You said there were 1,470 households and 50 individuals. Why did you mix the metric?
What section is that in?
That's page 12.
In the what?
Page 12.
Page 12. So, I'm not, the grant people who wrote the grant didn't give me the answer to that, but I think
that's 11, Jennifer.
They're saying that a New Leaf anticipates serving 1,020 individuals. That's in 470 households.
Right.
So last year at the CAFA services alone, we served 584 individuals. 93 of those were Apache Junction residents. We anticipate we're going to serve more Apache Junction residents this year, but through this grant, that will support 50 individuals.
So you're going from 93 to half of that?
So the 93 was the total number of AJ residents we served. That's not how many we served with well, we didn't have the funding last year. Sorry. We're just talking about the number we're going to serve with this funding. That's what the 50 is focused on.
So wait, I think what you're saying is the 93 didn't all need to have housing or a motel or something like that.
Right.
Okay. That clarifies that issue to some degree. Okay, but as I said, it's sort of mixed metaphors as you're dealing in one level with households and then all of a sudden individuals, and a Venn diagram doesn't look good that way.
I apologize.
50 people don't live in 8 houses.
Right.
Each person.
Yeah.
Okay. The other issue that's there is that you had that, as you said, 30% of your budget, and your budget's 7,000. 30% of that isn't the full 7,000. So really, you're requesting the full 100% of your budget.
So
if I may, Chairman Brenner, I did find the applicants got a little confused, and we're going to be fixing the application. Is while most people probably see budget, what this is a budget that you're looking for a specific project. So some listed their entire budget for the year, and then that's why the percentage might be so much lower than what they're asking for. So that's why we wanted you to double check and see what they were asking for this year's funding.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, that makes sense. As I told you, medical institutions say the hospital has this budget, surgery has this part of the budget, psychiatry and other, they always cheat us on that. Yep. Yeah.
So for our CAFA services alone, the shelter and the outreach services, the $7,000 is less than 1%
Okay,
of that, of the budget for those two programs alone.
okay. And I'm going to believe that there's sort of an exchange program, as I've already revealed, that there are individuals from Apache Junction that go over to Glendale, and there are people from the East Valley probably that come over here. And that's for security reasons.
Yeah.
But you know, does that sort of equilibrate? And I'm just trying to get a feel for what I'm going to explain to the council when I say, well, they want money, but guess what? They're all from Surprise and Glendale, and they're over here, but our people are over there, honest they are.
Yeah, and that is the challenge with domestic violence, is people don't want to live in the community where they're trying to get away from. And so, yes, it does kind of equilibrate in the sense that, you know, we might be serving a little bit more of Mesa, Gilbert, you know, Santan Valley people than we do Apache Junction, but Apache Junction citizens are going to Mesa, to Gilbert, to, you know, Phoenix, to Glendale, to those other programs. And so we have to take that into consideration. But again, a lot of our outreach services, we are serving those Apache Junction residents because we're serving them where they're at. They're somewhere safe, but they just want help continuing to navigate the process of staying safe and staying out of those relationships. And so in our outreach program, we do serve more Apache Junction residents in that program than we do in our shelter program.
The implications are that when you ask for a motel or something like that, that's really temporary. But
Yeah.
that means that they move on. Where do they go? I mean, I'm not asking for specifics,
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Is that, okay, because in a way, my reading of your proposal is that the funding you want is for the motels or hotels
The
or
funding
whatever.
we're looking for is mostly for those emergency situations to get them out immediately and get them safe, and then provide them with some other necessities that they might have while they're out in those hotels, or if we're transitioning them on to somewhere else.
Okay.
Sometimes when people get safe, they have a moment to just kind of breathe and relax and realize, oh, you know what? My friend at work said if I was ever in a situation, I could call them. And they'll call that person, they'll be, oh yeah, let me help you. Or they'll connect with their family. Let me send you a ticket to get you out of the state, get you here where you're safe. Or they'll say, my mom lives in Phoenix. I'm going to go live with her in Phoenix. They'll find other options for where they can go. If they don't, then we continue to work with them and serve them. Some people, unfortunately, do choose to go back, sometimes safely. Sometimes they get the abusive person removed from the home through law enforcement. Our legal advocates help them get an order of protection, get exclusive use of the home. So there's so many options of where they can go once we get them out and get them safe.
Okay, so that sort of clarifies this position. You adroitly mentioned that there are men that are abused. Now, because of the possibility of just the triggering qualities of having a co-ed population, you don't do that, right?
We absolutely do.
How does that work out?
Well, since VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, in 2007, I believe it was, they passed legislation that we cannot discriminate who comes into our shelter. That's a good thing, and it sometimes poses challenges. But for the most part, we just, they're survivors too, they're victims too. They experience a lot of the same things. And so it's an environment where everybody's experienced some trauma. And so we, as a trauma-informed agency, work at serving them and providing those resources and services that they need, and hopefully get them to move on. And actually, we don't have a lot of issues with it anymore. Like as many as people would think.
Okay.
So yeah, we have them at our CAFA shelter. All of our shelters accept male survivors as well.
Well, and then New Leaf does have the men's shelter right there.
Yeah, we typically don't send them there though, because a lot of the clientele at the male shelter for unhoused individuals are perpetrators, and so sending somebody there who's a victim is not always ideal.
Okay.
So if we can't serve them in the shelter, we will put them in a hotel.
Okay. All right. Any question?
I was just really surprised at how low our utilization was from AJ. I think only 8.5%. And so I know you mentioned something about maybe referrals getting tightened up a little bit, but was just really surprised that.
Yeah,
the
we're
low referral-
continuing, like I said, we meet with law enforcement every month. We're trying to get that information out. At our meeting just this last, March, the beginning of March, the lieutenant that came out talked about how they have all these new officers, and they need to get them trained up. So our staff are going out to train them on this protocol to get them understanding how quickly we can access resources for survivors, just to make sure that they know how they can go about doing that. They said that they put our protocol up on their records management system, so all officers should have access to it. But a lot of times you see a paper, you don't know what it means, you know. So it's just really training them and getting them up to speed on what that process is and how to get them referred over to us. And then also we're starting to do a better job of tracking if they've referred to us. When they come in, we ask, where are you referred by? Sometimes the police bring them directly to our site, not our shelter site, but our admin site, and they'll drop them off if it's, during the daytime hours. After hours, though, they'll just call that hotline number and get connected. So we're trying to do a better job of tracking that.
So I would assume all monies go into like a general fund. I mean, we would give dollars to help support shelter, emergency shelter now, but all monies go into like I guess what I'm asking is if there were 150 people who needed services, who needed emergency shelter, you have the ability to provide that service, even with, even if there's only a $7,000 allocation, correct?
Yeah,
You have
so
a broader
we have,
budget that supports.
Yes, so we have another program in Maricopa County called DV Stop that is the overflow program specifically for Maricopa County. So if they can't get into shelter here, we'll get them into safety. Even if we ran out of the $7,000,
Right.
we'd get them through that program. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay,
All right, thank you for your time and consideration.
thank you.
Next on your agenda is Apache Junction CDC.
Commissioners, staff, my name is Gail Evans, and I'm Vice Chair of the Apache Junction Community Development Corporation, and I'm known as the trashiest woman in Apache Junction. And I wear that proudly. To tell you briefly about our organization, we are 100% volunteers. Our biggest expense is our insurance for our volunteers, because we incorporate children from the high school, the junior high, from local churches. We get the entire community involved in our cleanup projects. Our main project once a year is Make a Difference Day, where we do various cleanups for both the city and individual neighborhoods. But throughout the year, our cases that we work on, we are 100% referred only from code compliance in Apache Junction. We don't go out and clean up anybody else's properties, only those that are elderly, veterans, disabled, either physically, some have mental handicaps, and they're homeowners. We do not do this for rental properties. Some of our biggest cleanups have all been through previous contractors that have aged out. And so many people, well, this is here and I might be able to use that on another job. And they bring it home. One property alone, that was a fire case. We had 4 40-yard rollouts. There was a tremendous amount of very good materials, and a lot of it we call other agencies, one property we had 36 bicycles. We found an individual who was training youth how to repair bicycles, and then they were donated to different organizations. So we try to not just take everything to the dump. We try to find different resources that can use the material. Of course, with the permission of the owners. They must sign documents saying, if you want to keep something, it has to be gone before we get there, because we can't have volunteers, you know, all of a sudden be and say, no, put that down. So we have quite an extensive interview process as well, where one gentleman, he had 42 cats in his house, and he was a veteran. He was actually a disabled veteran who had never applied for VA benefits. And he was the victim of his parachute didn't open. That's a pretty big victim. And so I was able to get him set up with Horizon Health, with their social services, and I applied for his VA benefits for himself. So he got those within a week after that. But he didn't have his own mental capabilities of doing that, let alone cleaning up the property that he had. We've had a lot of volunteer companies. We've had roof repairs. We've had an individual, we supplied the material and he built a ramp for an elderly gentleman who had a large saguaro fall and break his handicap ramp. He couldn't leave his house until we got this ramp built. So we do more than just clean up trash, but that is what brings us out to properties. As of our last Make a Difference Day, we had taken 92 ton to the dump. Well, that's the same as a blue whale, if you want to visualize it. We have made differences in neighborhoods where as we're there cleaning up, the other neighbors start cleaning up. And it's been a wonderful experience to see the community come together as it does, because we couldn't do anything without all of our volunteers. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, first I want to compliment you that the proposal was remarkably better this year.
Thank you. I had nothing to do with that.
Okay, but you adroitly pointed out
Yes.
that your mission is to deal with code violations. It's 100% code violation resolution. Yes. Okay, with that in mind, how many of those did you receive in the past year, do you think?
I don't really have that number. I don't know if Dave knows.
9? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you gave a great example of an individual who was very impaired. In fact, you went beyond the scope of your group and you helped facilitate their being eligible for VA benefits. But the implication was that he wasn't able to deal with those sorts of tasks in maintaining his home environment. What happens afterwards? I mean, it's nice that that got fixed, but that then presupposes that it deteriorates progressively because he can't do that.
No. And what happened in that case, Horizon was able to get him into housing that was manageable for him. You know, we try to find, especially with the elderly relatives that are nearby, I always ask for a phone number to see how, you know, are they able to come? Do they know the condition that their parent or loved one is living in? And some of them don't know. That particular individual, he ended up, he lied and said that he owned the property. He had rented it for 22 years. So he felt like he had ownership in the property. And whenever we discovered that he wasn't the owner, all we did was his mental health and human services help that we could offer. I contacted the owner, who was a Mesa individual, and he has since, the property was going to be condemned because it was so bad. His wife had just passed away. Our scope widens with every one of these situations. We had one individual, he had 300 tires. 300 tires. He thought they were a fence. You know, you just don't know what people become attached to. It's quite amazing. We've been thrown off properties. One individual, they had almost no walking room. They had so many pallets, wood pallets, on their acre and a quarter. And he knew very well he was going to be fined, he was going to have to go to court, and the items were going to have to be removed at his own expense. But his other half didn't want any of that to happen. There was a problem with alcohol in that household, and they actually threw us off the property. So we don't clean up anything or go any place we're not wanted, but you know, it ended up being a court issue at that point. So you see some of the things that the average person in Apache Junction doesn't see. One lady, elderly lady, was she lived alone, and she had a couch on her back porch, and it was like, why do you have a couch on the back porch? Well, my husband died on that couch, and my friends could only get it to the porch. They couldn't get rid of it. So, you know, yes, it's trash, but it means something to somebody that if you don't have a truck, if you don't know young people with good backs, which mine aren't really good anymore, you know, you realize it's a need that's out there that's not talked about a lot, that's not known about, that you don't really think about it until you see it. So.
Fair enough.
Is there any other questions?
Chairman Mitchell, I have a question. On the project budget, you've listed administration, MAD, which is Make a Difference Day, projects and equipment, with a total of $11,460.
Okay.
At the top of the application, it says that you're requesting $6,500. So Dave, do you know what you're requesting?
Dave said it was 74.
And so we decided it was 7,400? Appreciate that. Thank you much.
Which is almost all of our insurance and dump fees and dumpster fees. We do ask for any assistance that they can give us, but I mean, that's why we're there, because they not only can't pay to have their properties cleaned, they don't have the money for the court fees and for the lawyer. And when we first decided what we wanted to do, it was like, it doesn't pay the city to take them to court, which costs the city money because they don't have any money. So it was obvious to us that this was a great need, and we've kind of figured out how we can make it happen.
Republic Services don't donate you services?
Development services?
No, disposal, Republic Services.
They give us a break on the rollouts and on the dump fees. They only charge us the commercial amount, not the residential amount. So they do help us out in those type of situations. There was recently a fire, a mobile home fire. They actually paid for the rollout to have that all removed themselves. So they do help as much as they can.
Okay.
Any other questions? I invite you to all join us on a cleanup someday.
Well, wait, I have one question for you.
Yes.
So how many residents were actually served in 2023? I know that there was like a mention of some cases, and then there was like a client survey, but there was no actual numbers for that one.
No, and like in our Make a Difference Day, because our rollouts are in neighborhoods, we have neighborhoods that we've helped, but actual cases, some of them are as easy as weeds in the front yard. And when we have those, we had a couple volunteers that would just go out every Thursday and clean up weeds. Some of our volunteers made a dump trailer, and they just take it to the dump themselves and pay for those fees. So I can't give you an exact number. And like I said, sometimes they want our help until it comes down to that, and then they say, no, I don't want your help. So it's sort of, I can't give you that exact number. I'd say it's less than 20, but exactly I don't know.
But you also do other projects in the city. You
Yeah.
do Make a Difference Day.
Make a Difference
is a
Day,
huge-
Silly Mountain, the bricks. We've kind of stopped doing the remodeling on the bricks. We had people that were actually repainting them, because even the new paint that is supposedly has this sunblock in it has already started fading. So we're trying to figure out what is the best way to do that, because that was a fundraiser for us as well. But you don't want to have someone pay for bricks that you can't read. Kind of defeats it. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Other thing I'd like to add is, you didn't even cover this, but when you go on a property, you sort the material. Like you said, you've got lumber, you've got metal, and you usually call a junk
Yeah,
company
we
or
have
a
a
metal
scrap
company.
man. That, depending on how much is there, he'll actually bring his own scrap dumpster out. We'll fill it up, he'll pick it up, and he makes a deal with the owner. Some of them say, just get rid of it. Sometimes he gives them a portion of what the value is.
Well, I was appreciative of hearing that you repurposed the bicycles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was really clever. I had some stuff to take to the dump, and I always exploit my brother because he's got a truck, and we went, and he's an avid bicyclist, and he said, that's a frame that costs $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and, you know, once the majority of these people see that we're trying to not only help them, but help others with it, they are so appreciative. And many of these properties have been able, because they've been cleaned up, have now sold. One property, a lady's husband was a contractor. He had a stroke 7 years ago. He was in a wheelchair. All he could do was raise his hand. She was his sole caregiver, and they had a 13-year-old daughter. And I said, I don't know how you're doing this by yourself. And she just said, one day at a time, all of the services had run out that they could utilize. And I said, so what would your best case of all of this happening? And she says, well, I have family in Missouri that they said they could help me if I could get this place sold, but of course it was a disaster. So after we went in and we did a major cleanup, she was able to sell the house and move.
congratulations.
Thank you. I wish I was totally responsible. I am not. But it's a great group. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Next is Begin Again Homes.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
Good, good. My name is Terrell Moore. I'm the president of Begin Again Homes. Right to my right, I have Sheriff Bigelow, who is the executive directive. Yes. The reason why we are here, right, is I really kind of want to go in depth in regards to what Begin Again Home is for. If you think of the name Begin Again Homes, we are looking to get individuals back into homes. As there are individuals or organizations who are here to help specific individuals, we are actually looking to help the general public of AJ who are homeless, looking to get back into the system of society. Now, if you think about that, there are troubles and individuals who may have a little offness. Like for me, I'm a war vet, so in the sense of me trying to get back in, right, there are challenges. There are other individuals who might have disabilities. Again, challenges. Women who have children, more challenges. There are help for them, but there are not help for all of those individuals who are even currently over in homeless in Apache Junction. For us, we are looking to create, actually no, we're actually asking for $12,550 for some of the things that, for example, the salaries, right? As we are local individuals, just like you guys, we do hold jobs, and it becomes a struggle for us to try to work full-time on getting the Begin to Get Homes taken off. So there will be a portion, as you'll see on the documents, that will help us fund for hiring an individual. All right, as you see for number 2, your programs, right? And as there are other programs that says you have your emergency transitional shelter. There are individuals, again, other organizations that do have funding to help specifics. But what about those who are left behind? Those who are saying, hey, I want to be the one to get help, right? What about me? To go through a scenario like that brings back memories, and it's hard. It's hard for one to say, well, how can I get help? But there's no help, but there's other help for others. So with Begin Again Homes, we will be that transition as they've received a partial help, knowing that they are able to get keys, get a voucher, get keys, and is waiting for that small process to get into a home. All right, so that's where our program comes into play, as we are the one to say we can help you, as either putting them into a hotel, and later further down the line as us trying to create or purchase homes, we could actually put them in within those homes. But as we're stepping, we're not able to walk, we're crawling right now. Moving on to number 3, as you see with marketing, yes, we are asking for funding for Facebook advertising. It is difficult in the sense of there are individuals who may not be out there to know us. So having our visibility, having us out there, the presence, people are able to slowly but surely say, hey, you know what, I'm homeless. What can I do? What steps can I go for? And they're able to see that through our marketing, as that is our sole targeting, is these individuals who are looking to get out of the situation that they are in, which is homelessness. And I do want to kind of throw it out there, right, as we all understand that the homelessness may pick up as more individuals are coming into Apache Junction. That's something that we need to start looking at, seeing that before we have seen that there has been an issue. And as there has been an issue, there really hasn't been a solution that we believe with Begin to Get Homes that we can be that solution in the sense of the general individuals. All right, so again, as we're looking at number 4, you're looking at operations. We're asking to to have assistance in regards to some of the fees that's going to come up in regards to it, right? As we have bank fees, yes, there, everyone wants fees, donation fees in regards to getting private donors to donate to us. There will be fees, and also compared to as we go out there and be on the front side to show people who we are, there would be vendor fees. So there's always fees for something, and we're asking for the community as we're looking to help those who are out in the community with no homes that, hey, we're here. And that's where the operation comes into play. As you're looking at number 5, you have your licenses. Unfortunately, that costs money too. In the sense of having a nonprofit, you know, there are fees and there are licenses and certain paperwork and stuff like that, and that is needed as we, again, are organization coming from the bottom up, as we feel that we are the solution to a issue and a problem, we're going to need help. Now, of course, if there isn't the ability for help, we know that there's more opportunity that's out there that's going to take more time. As we understand, time is essence. Again, we have a huge population coming into Apache Junction as they're building, but we're still on the lower level trying to create. So when situations happen to where issues are out in the play and there are more out there into this desert to try to put their head down for a good night's sleep, and then also saying, hey, you know what, we're trying to get something done in regards to them getting vouchers, them able to say, hey, okay, I'm ready to get back into society. Apache Junction is my home. We are that gap and that barrier. And then you'll see at number 6 is your admin. Now, we do have a website. Yes, the website costs us money. We know that as with the website, trying to get donations in, that's why we have it. And with that, there's fees. Now, again, with the website, that gives more presence also. So not to have it, more people won't know. So in the sense of having a website and having the P.O. box, there are ways for us, that's our communication way, and that's where as maybe a small fee where it could be adjusted, it helps us continue to maintain it, because if it's not coming out of the donations, it will come out of our pockets, as we feel very passionate of being the gap to help those who are on the streets trying to come back into society, we're willing to do. All right. Cheryl's going to go over a little bit of testimonies of what we have done within the time frame. We've been open for, we've had our organization for a year, and within a year time frame, we have made progress to where being up on the front side and also kind of looking and seeing what more we could do. All right, so as I turn it over to Cheryl, she's going to kind of go more in depth into it and then come up with us and introduce a little bit of testimonies that we have already established.
Dr. Brennan, I know you're all about numbers and stats, so this is for you. So like Terrell said, we're at the crawling stage. So 2023, we're figuring out grants, where do we sit, what do we do? We're also members of the Pinal County Coalition on Homelessness, and also the Apache Junction Coalition. So Pinal County approached us like in May and said, hey, there's no emergency shelters in Apache Junction. We have all these people on vouchers, and there's this gap period. You get a voucher, you gotta find a place to live. That can take weeks, it can take months. You do find a place to live, you got like 2 to 3 weeks where you gotta wait for lease signing, for inspections. So we thought, we could do this. We're gonna do emergency shelter. So from June to December, we navigated 23 people to appropriate resources and referrals. It also included doing like food stamp applications, helping people with utilities. Out of that 23, we supplied 5 hotel stays. Out of that, we played a role with 4 individuals getting permanent housing. We also partnered with Purple Heart Thrift Store. So like 2 of the people that got housing, I give them a voucher, they go to Purple Heart, they get whatever they need. Out of those 23 people, in 6 months, 7 of them were seniors. Does that help you with your numbers?
Partly. 5 hotel stays, how long were they and what does that cost you?
So we have been a lot of trial and error. We do have an MOU now with Motel 6, so we get like very discounted rates. So we were getting hotels for like $680 for a week.
Okay, $680 for a week?
Yeah, which is like super cheap.
Okay, but that, still, I'm sorry, how long did those 5 stays last?
So one was 3 weeks. Well, another one, Shelley, was like 4 weeks, but that was a different circumstances. And the other 2 were about 2 weeks. And I want to give you a little story too. So this one gentleman, he was 68, he was a veteran.
Mhm.
He got a voucher, and those vouchers are great because they're a long time. You get somebody, a landlord that's going to take it, the VA pays for the rest of that person's life. Well, he had cancer. So he gets his voucher, then there was a problem with him moving in right away. We stuck him in Motel 6 for 2 weeks. He moves in his place. He got to live there for 3 months before he died. So he got to die within 4 walls and a roof. So it's a blessing to be part of that, you know. And then our biggest success is a couple there in their 50s, and that's the one we put for 3 weeks too in a hotel. And they had a voucher. We got them, with the help of Western Lifestyle, into a really nice condo. And I got the wife a job at Purple Heart. Her husband has a lot of heart issues, so they've been housed now for 7 months. And the husband is just able now. We got all his doctors say he's getting ready to have his heart surgery, and they will be stabilized by the end of their voucher. So their voucher is for 24 months. So at the end of 24 months, they will be stabilized that they can go and pay for regular housing.
So what age category are they? Do they qualify for access? Do they qualify for Medicare?
Yeah, so both that couple, actually the wife just lost her access. I just helped her renew all that. She didn't know that it lapsed. And I'm helping the husband with disability. So we're like that close for him to get on disability.
As a veteran or?
No, he's not a veteran.
Okay, so you really mean he's going to get Altex?
No, Altex is long-term care. He'll get access. Well, he already has access. Now he needs to get Social Security disability so that he can get Medicare.
Oh, okay, SSDI, okay. Social Security
Yes,
disability.
yes,
insurance,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So between those 9 people, you spent $6,050 for their stays.
If that's what it says, yeah.
Okay. With that, and I appreciate that, I mean, you've had some people that have gotten into more permanent housing, but you had 23 cases, and 7 of those were seniors, and you delineate that 4 have permanent housing. What does that imply about the other approximately 19?
So like the other 23, so maybe like somebody might call and be like, hey, I can't pay my electric bill.
Right, but no. What I'm asking is, so you started out with 23 people that you're trying to deal with, and the goal is to get them permanent housing, is that correct?
Correct.
Universally, and I appreciate that. I'm thinking a little magically, and probably you guys are too. But with that, simple math says that if you've got 4 with permanent housing out of 23, 19 don't have permanent housing. Where are they?
So that kind of is a good question because the majority of them get referred to CARA. So CARA takes over because CARA is pretty much the hub for Pinal County with housing, with vouchers, with utility assistance. So once I refer them to CARA, I really don't know what happens after that. I only know what happens like here with the direct ones.
So let me ask you then about because your longevity is limited, and I appreciate that. That's what you can give me. But what are your aspirational goals? I mean, when you talk about permanent placement, I conceptualize that as being years, that someone would have a place.
No, you know, there's enough of, okay. There's enough funding that comes in federally that like CARA, number one, they're the ones that get the vouchers. You got the VA that has their vouchers. There's enough of that. The problem is getting housing, but I have a fix on that. So this Thursday, Pinal County, we're doing a big housing program roundtable at the multi-gen. And there's a lot of we need to educate property managers and landlords because they're only familiar with Section 8. They're not familiar with how these vouchers work.
Correct. Yeah, that's
So I do think after Thursday, it's going to make a very big change, and we're going to provide a lot of education, and we're going to see more people accepting vouchers.
okay. Complications. As I've revealed, I'm a psychiatrist.
Sure.
And that was my fault. With that, there's registered sex offenders. They're obligate registered sex offenders. How do you deal with that population? How do you deal with people that have serious mental illness? And one of the greatest problems I had as medical director of inpatient services over at Desert Vista was that we would discharge people, set up a housing situation that was a nice apartment, and some people were so paranoid that after they stopped taking their meds, they moved out.
So we're unique. We're not dealing with SMIs. So
You're screaming.
I've been dealing with the homeless for like 7 years.
Okay.
I deal with Genesis. I know all the agencies. We all work together.
Okay.
Beginning in homes, we're focusing on general population. We're focusing on that senior citizen whose husband died and now she lost his Social Security. She can't make it on hers. We're focusing on that single mom who just got divorced. And you know what? Maybe she needs a little bit more education to get a better job. If we have a home, she can live there for free. And we will resource the hell out of her. We will help her and her child so that she can get stabilized and move on to support herself.
So are you implied that you exclude obligate sexual offenders?
Correct.
Okay. And the seriously mentally ill?
Correct. That's Horizon's deal. Horizon takes care of SMI.
Okay. I think that's fair. If you delegate that's fair. And again, it's not necessarily their fault because
Exactly.
if people are really paranoid, then that makes it difficult for them to feel safe someplace around a whole bunch of other people.
And Horizon has the staff and the training to deal with people like that. We don't.
Now, when I try to look up the demographics of Apache Junction, I did this last year, so the most contemporary data I find on homelessness was 2020. And at that time, they only listed 98 people as being homeless. I think that homeless population is larger than that.
So I included the pig count for 2022, 2023, and 2024. Now, the thing with that is our clients need to participate. So I think it was 2023, the numbers were a little lower, and that's because there wasn't a lot of participation, because the homeless community, they're tired of answering our questions. They don't see a change, they don't see a difference. This year was different. We got like over 100, right?
What does
So we got 163 people.
What does PIT stand for?
Point in time.
Oh, okay.
And the question is, so they pick a day, it's the last week in January. So this year was January 23rd, and the question is, where did you spend the night of January 23rd? So like if you were in jail, you're not homeless. If you're couch surfing, you're not homeless. You have to meet the HUD definition of homeless, which is sleeping in your car, sleeping in a tent, sleeping in the desert. So, but this year, we had larger participation, and our homeless community increased.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, and the death rate from the heat was outrageous. I'm perplexed at why you drew comparisons on population when you were comparing Pinal County to Cochise County. They're remarkably disparate. Why did you have that in your?
Oh, that's the balance of the state, I think, right, or the continuum of care. I just printed out the whole report so that you could, I don't know, make a comparison and see how the other counties are to
Yeah,
us.
but I mean, those were the only two counties that were listed, was Pinal and Cochise, and they're really disparate counties. Cochise County's on the border. It's remarkably smaller than Pinal County. Yeah. And so, I mean, if you want to make comparisons, I'm okay with apples to apples, so to speak.
Do you have a copy of that, Jennifer, what he's referring to?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again, Dr. Brenner?
Yeah, what I found in the proposal was there was a comparison on demographics. Cochise County population was listed as 126,050 in 2021. It's not even that contemporary, versus Pinal County at 449,557. But you can see Pinal is approximately 3 times minimally larger than Cochise County.
And which page are you on?
I have a feeling it's something that I gave him.
Yeah, it was an attachment.
Okay.
So I have a feeling you're looking at, is it the Arizona Balance of State Continuum of Care? The system performance measures? Is that what you're talking about?
You know, perhaps, I foolishly this time didn't write down the exact page, and usually I'm pretty OCD about that stuff, so I didn't do that. Okay. You know, it's just that it seemed that the comparisons were not equivalent. It was almost like saying that, you know, we want to compare New York to Memphis, Tennessee, and that I'm being exaggerated.
I get you.
You understand what I'm saying? So I didn't understand why you would select those as comparatives.
So if we're looking at the same, I see what you're saying, because we're probably looking at the same thing. So because the Arizona Balance of State of Continuum of Care, that has a lot to do like how we get funding and stuff. So honestly, I just pulled the state continuum of care to attach as numbers.
Okay. All right. Okay. How much do you receive from Pinal County proper to supplement your budget?
How much do we get from Pinal County?
Yeah.
We don't get anything.
I'm sorry, then I misunderstood part of the initial presentation. I thought Pinal County said that Apache Junction has a real need, and
Correct. They asked us, Beginning in Homes, if we would do emergency shelters. They didn't say they were going to fund it.
Okay, so it's like, go do it, but
Thank you.
it's on you. Okay. All right, that clarifies that. Okay, thanks.
So nowhere in your request for funds did it call out funding for the GAP shelter itself. So how are you paying for that?
Fundraising, and we have some really super great business owners in Apache Junction that love me and believe in our mission and help us.
Oh, good. Okay.
And a large portion of your budget is going to the programs itself for providing the pre-screen. Can you help me understand that a little bit better? Because I was under the impression that everyone that came through to this program already had a voucher. What are you pre-screening for? Maybe I just missed that.
What did you say? That was a typo. So that Terrell's saying that was a typo.
So
For pre-screening, because you're right, because we don't have to pre-screen, because New Leaf or CARA or the VA or Home Inc., they're going to do all the pre-screening.
So I think that was what, almost $1,800 a quarter. Does that mean that that money is not needed, or?
There was something else though in the programs. Were you considering emergency hotel stay for programs?
So even with the pre-screening, right, again, you're looking at two different attributes to where we have it, to where you have your traditional and then the emergencies. Now, we do have a program in regards to screening individuals to make sure that they follow our intake and they are able to be properly, how do you want to say, screened in order for them to get emergency shelter, right? Something like that is either for us as the board to fund for Beginning in Homes, or in the sense of kind of collaborating and see within the community if they can assist and help out. So again, it's one of those, it's on there, right? And in the sense of the pre-screening, we looked at taking it out and focusing more on just those who are already screened, but then there, again, will leave a loophole. And then even if the loophole is there, I myself will take in consideration and say, okay, what can we do in regards to trying to fix this? So again, it's there, yes. And I feel that as we are able to do our own screening through certain agencies, right, we could go ahead and continue to allow to have that emergency process.
Okay, so just to clarify one last time, sorry, so your administrative fee is for your salaries, and then the program screening is something that the salaried position does?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Because even whoever we hire, we're going to put a lot on them, unfortunately, because we're working 40 hours a week, and if we have that opportunity to collaborate with that individual who we hire, it's trying to take a little bit of stress on them and put it on us.
I'm sorry, that was a great question. So who's doing your screening, and
So that's, because before we started doing like with the vouchers, helping people with vouchers,
right?
I was getting calls just like from people. Like Empowerment System has our information. They hand it out on Healthy Harvest Days. So that's where we were talking about like screening, because I had to come up with an intake screening
Right.
for people that didn't have a voucher.
Correct.
So,
How do you discern, though, whether or not someone's seriously mentally ill?
you know, a lot of people are really honest when you ask them the right questions.
Okay.
So when you get those answers, then again, I'll refer to Horizon Health or I'll refer to La Frontera, like they don't fit our criteria.
Yeah, because La Frontera is really the rebuffer here.
Exactly, because I did have, in the beginning, that's what I was running into. We were getting like all these people I thought were general population, and then through intake, it's like, oh yeah, no, okay, there's like a problem, and we can't handle it, so.
So what do you do, and again, I'm a physician, so what do you do with people that have chronic medical problems? They're brittle diabetic, there's someone who has COPD, there's someone who has congestive heart failure. They're pretty expensive meds across the board with that. I mean, you know, there's a real move by the Biden administration to cap insulin and stuff, but people haven't really dealt with pharma yet on COPD meds and some other.
So are you asking me financially, what do we do?
Yeah, how's that? I mean, because they've got those needs.
Exactly. So most people have, I mean, access covers everything. If you're on due coverage, it don't really cost you nothing for your prescriptions.
Well, I understand. However, you'll remember a year ago, we had a real
With the
problem,
insulin.
didn't we? That's right as COVID ended, or supposedly ended, there was, the moratorium ended on having to re-register for access. And probably close to 300,000 people in Arizona got thrown off. So, again.
So that was before my time, number one.
Okay.
Number two, I help a lot of people with their access and food stamp applications.
Okay.
Yeah, and we would resource out. If I can't handle it 9 out of 10 times, I know who can.
Okay. All right. In fact, you know, Genesis used to have a navigator, but
I am the
understand that.
navigator at
Oh,
Genesis.
You are now?
Yes.
Okay, because that was this position that was supposed to fulfill that need. Okay. Well, that adds some insight into what happened to that position. Okay. All right, thanks. I'm sorry I occupied some time. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. I've harassed you enough.
Again, I do want to thank you for allowing us to come up. As everyone here has their passion, this is our passion, and we know that as we continue to work together, we will make great changes here in the Apache Junction.
Thanks.
Next is Horizon Health and Wellness.
Remember, I think they were going to call or something, but
I did receive a call from them saying that they would not be here this evening. I just wanted to see if anyone showed up.
oh, thanks.
So then we will move on to, and I see that I am missing one application, but that is for Desert Chapel.
First in and last to go.
I'm David Tom. I'm the lay leader at Desert Chapel, a Methodist church over on Palo Verde. Did you have our program? It didn't, on the second page, it didn't look like you had it, so.
I am pulling it up right now, and I'm going to save it to another drive so that they can have access to it.
While she looks for that, just a little background on us. We've been participating in a Feed the Hungry program for more than 20 years. We started off with a home-cooked meal on Thanksgiving. I think it was back in 2002 or 3. And that led to a Christmas dinner that same year. And then ultimately a 7-day feeding program that morphed into Genesis, which now is also in Apache Junction. Our program for feeding's a little bit different than most in that we also provide clothing out of our clothing closet. We have a blessing box that is on our property that is take what you need and bring what you can donate into that. And that is consistently restocked. There's not a whole lot that comes in other than the volunteers from the church, but it's always stocked and always available. We've operated all of those programs for 20-plus years with no real request for outside funding. So coming for the grant or building the grant is a little bit new to us. We had some help in doing that, and Pastor Philip, his wife, helped us a good bit to go through things. And I guess the biggest thing that I want to explain, we didn't know how to ask for money, really, and we did know what your budget was of $80,000. And if you go through ours, I think we're asking, or we put in there 101,000 or something like that. We know that that's not possible. But our situation is that we have a physical plant where these programs are housed. Almost exclusively, there are 3 buildings that are used for, Buller Hall is used mainly for the community feast, which is a Saturday program from 11 till about 2, followed by the clothing closet being open from 2 to 4 on Saturdays. And we've been doing that for quite some time. What morphed out of the original program was a heat respite that we offered probably 15 years ago. Still part of Genesis at that time. And the heat respite turned into something that was kind of unexpected on our part. We had people sleeping in the sanctuary. We had people sleeping in Wooler Hall. We had people sleeping with our doors open outside. So we didn't quite know how to react to that, but we kind of went with the flow over time. The pandemic kind of put a real question mark on our abilities to move forward with that. We didn't have any in-house church services for almost 2 years, but during that time we continued every Saturday to a feeding program, even when it came down to having to hand out a boxed lunch out the door to somebody, both people being masked. We continued to do that. But the thing that really happened was we understood that our physical plant was deteriorating. We had 60 to 100, sometimes up to 200 people coming in on a Saturday, and especially in the summertime when it got really hot in August, there were lots of people there, and it took a toll on that part of our physical plant. So what you see in the grant application is a lot of things that are what we consider deferred maintenance, things that we should have and probably at one point or time could have done, but didn't understand the scope of the whole operation. What happened last August kind of was a kick in the rear end, if you want to call it that. We had 2 major air conditioners on Wooler Hall. There are 3 on Wooler Hall. 2 of them quit basically within a couple of days of one another. And I got a call at home saying, what are you going to do? And we had people out buying fans. We had all kinds of things taking place to try to keep that open. We did keep the clothing closet open, even though the air conditioning unit on that separate building wasn't working properly. So what we did at that point in time was we had a donor. Well, first thing we did was we ordered 2 air conditioners, not knowing how we were going to pay for them. And fortunately, a donor came forth and paid for a good bit of that. And that helped a great deal, but we're still faced with all those things that you see in the report. The questions that we have to ask ourselves is, what is our priority? Well, what it comes down to is we get the food, although that's more difficult now, and you've heard from the food bank how, what the problems that they have. Other sources of cooperation that we've had to get food, the Midwest Food Cooperative, I think, is something like that. We go down and get food there as well. All of those have increased our costs, and we have managed to do that through donations and through putting part of the church budget toward that. But as we go forward, it's going to be more and more difficult to do that. And right now, we have to fix the air conditioning on the one building. We'll probably be able to do that through this summer, but certainly by the next year, we'll have to completely replace 2 units on that building. So if we look for priorities, that's kind of what we're looking for. The other pieces, the other parts of that, the other pieces that are shown in our request are all part and parcel to operating those 3 buildings. Nothing has to do with any of the slide they have up there now. I think it shows what we're stocking up for the future. I don't know if there's another one there. Yeah, the blue things on there are what we're stocking up for this summer's heat respite, bottled water that we hand out. And we're saving that till it gets, saving some of it, or most of it, until we get to that point. So the other pieces of that have to fall in place, and we're prepared to do that. Several years ago, we spent approximately $26,000, I think it was, on the kitchen alone. The stove in there needs completely to be rebuilt. The oven part of that stove, and more importantly and more expensively, the air movement system above to keep the flames from. It has to be able to put out fires and so forth. So we have to continue to do that, and we do have in place plans to cover a good bit of that as part of our regular church budget through the giving of our parishioners in a regular way. That the restroom facilities are not good, and adequate but not good, I guess, is the best way to put it. We continually have problems. We can't keep those locked. If we lock them during the day or during the times when the programs aren't taking place, people break into them. So we're looking at expenses there. But the biggest thing that we're asking for is to help us have some relief from this so that we can continue the programs. We plan to go into a capital campaign sometime during this year, 2024, at least plan for it. But those things take a good bit of time to get solidified and get the proper things in place so that when we can go out and ask for money, not just from the people at church, but also from civic groups around the area and also businesses around the area. So those things take time and planning, and they probably won't come into any type of fruition until late 2025. So I'd ask Philip, if you don't mind kind of filling us in on some of the other parts of our program.
Good evening, Dr. Chairman and Commission members. My name is Philip Tesarek. I'm the pastor at Desert Chapel United Methodist Church. This church was built in 1950 in the heart of Apache Junction and has never stopped serving the community members. It was its heart, it was its mission in 1950, and 74 years later, it continues to be the heart and mission to serve the community of Apache Junction. I will tell you as anecdotally as I have had a chance to serve in the community feast, as we call it, which is our weekly feeding program and clothing program, that we have people walk, we have people bicycle, we have people ride cars that I sometimes wonder how they will ride out of the parking lot, but they come to receive the services, which is food, which is shelter during the heat, and which is clothing. This all is done in the spirit of what the United Methodist Church has done for over 100 years, which is outreach, and we have a group called the Committee on UMCOR, sorry, it's a big acronym, but we will send people across the world into places regardless of faith, regardless of creed, regardless of religion, regardless of all that, in places of disaster, and that extends out into the micro level, which is our community. All of our programs that Dave has talked about are done without ever asking a name of a person. We have worship in the sanctuary at 9 o'clock on Sundays, but our programs are regardless of race and religion and sexual orientation, creed, faith, or lack thereof. And that's important to the core of the people at Desert Chapel. I've had the privilege to pastor now for almost a year, and looking at their history over 74 years. As Dave said, this congregation has funded it entirely through their tithing and donations, through generous one-time gifts, and through, honestly, their weekly donations. We have, post-COVID, we had the same effect that probably our other faith-based partners had. We had a lower people coming back to church, we had lower budgets, and yet they have committed that mission and outreach in this context is important to the congregation. But we are asking for help from Apache Junction to help shore up those facilities, because without shoring up those facilities in the long term, we may not be able to continue that mission of clothing and feeding and heat respite going into the long-term future. I think that covers the short term of that, and members, we'd be happy to honor any questions that we would give our best attempt to answer.
So there's no paperwork that they need to fill out?
I'm sorry, say again?
There's no paperwork that they need to fill out, like there's no screening or anything?
There is absolutely no paperwork. There is no screening. We do not even ask names. If they volunteer, and we certainly have some frequent flyers, we have learned their names because they volunteered them, but no screening, no qualifications.
And there's no penalty for how often they utilize your services?
Absolutely none. Great question. As I say, we have people we see frequently, and we have those who come in and come out.
I might point out that at one time, we tried to get people to give us their names, and I know for the most part, people that are underhoused and underfed are very reluctant to do that, so we haven't done that. We do get a lot of repeat people, and we do get a lot of people that provide us their names, but we don't ask for anything like that. We feed people.
That's strictly voluntary then. It's voluntary on their part.
Absolutely, sir. Yes, and that just becomes a relationship building where all the people that staff this, our feeding and clothing operation are volunteers. A portion of them are church members, and a portion of them are community members who want to be engaged in that volunteer effort. And as part of that relationship building, they'll just happen to get to know the name of Joe, for instance, and he's offered it and we remember it. But we never ask for that. We don't record it.
As a church, you're a 501(c), right?
That's correct, under the auspices of the United Methodist Church. Yes, sir.
Okay. So as our conversation at the inception of all of this delineated, part of our mission is that we have to demonstrate that whatever we allocate has direct benefit. And you propose a real dilemma because you provide a real need, but it's a very circuitous route to what would be done. In other words, plastering walls, repairing ceilings, dealing with air conditioning units and all of that have a secondary effect for individuals, but not a primary. Does that make sense?
It does, yes, sir.
Okay, so that's our dilemma relative to the parameters under which we can fund something. So let me ask, again, because of your tax status, have you solicited with the help of entities in the community, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, whether or not you could get those resources to help repair some of these things, and maybe that would help in part, and then whether or not there is a possibility for example, contacting EVIT and finding out in their HVAC program whether or not students could come and provide that service to you and repair air conditioning units, but perhaps that's not even reasonable. What you're maybe implying is that they're so old and damaged that you really need new units.
Those are two very good observations. In my other life as being a scouting leader, I'm familiar with those relationships that we build for community service. In the context of Desert Chapel, our volunteer group are significantly over the age of 70, and we found that the physical ability to kind of supervise that, if I get a donation of lumber and concrete and mortar, that's going to need to be implemented. And we don't have a core volunteer group that is physically able to do that. It's a great idea. We do not receive anything from the United Methodist Church. We're a charter of it, so we get to pay them something, but we don't. There is no overarching organization. For what we fundraise at Desert Chapel stays at Desert Chapel. Looks like Dave has something.
Well, I can elaborate a little bit because Philip hasn't been with us very long, but we have had numerous, for example, Neater's Bakery supplies us regularly with day-old items. We've had tables full of bread and pastries in that. We've had the air conditioning companies that worked with us last year in August when our 2 units went down provided significant discounts because of the program, not because of the church, but because of the program. That same thing, we've solicited new bids on various various things that we're looking at. For example, we're looking at a Ring doorbell system to help with our security. We haven't asked for money for that, but we do get people that will provide us those things at a discount, and in some cases free. We've had donations of refrigerators and freezers. We're always looking for that sort of thing. For example, again, last year when things started to go south on the Wooler Hall piece, we needed a refrigerator right away, and they went to, I don't think it was Home Depot, and I'm not sure it was Lowe's, but they went to one of the big box stores and actually got a refrigerator. We also had one that was used that was donated. Another thing that happened when we did replace the 2 air conditioning units, we found out that our big freezer at that one of the 2 that we had at that time that would have taken about $8,000 or $9,000 to replace suddenly started working again because we weren't faced with 90 and 100-degree temperatures inside the building. Got it down to 80 and 75 and 80 degrees, and that started working. So yes, we have done that. We have, in fact, the person that we have volunteering to do a great deal of our inspection work on the air conditioning, and that volunteers all of his time to do that. He's a outside employee of one of the 2 of the companies that we have done business with or bought the air conditioners from before. So he's been doing that for us free of charge. So we take advantage of all the things that we can think of. But as Pastor said, most of us are not capable of supervising all that. We have to depend on the professionals to do a lot of it. And quite frankly, we've ignored it for a long time and tried to get by. And we will continue to work that way. I mentioned in when we do go out for, several years ago we went out for we did a capital campaign over a period of 2 years. And we raised a significant amount of money to completely repave the parking lot. That 3 years later, we got that same company to come back and provide some more repairs to the parking lot. So we got huge discounts on that because of the services that we do. So yeah, to answer long answer to your short question, we do that. Probably not as much as we possibly could if we had a little bit younger population that could work on it.
One of the issues that we're dealing with as the recommending body is we only have $90,000 to play with. You're asking for 101. What would be the bare minimum that you could use right now to do? What's your biggest need, I guess?
Yeah, that's a question that's difficult to answer. But the thing that we probably need most before we can get to the point where we can really work on high-ticket items and the items that are somewhat ancillary to that are work on the air conditioner. And I think it's listed in the program about $18,000 on the building that primarily houses the clothing closet. We have other air conditioning needs. In Wooler Hall, for example, the 3rd air conditioning unit is on its last legs, and we have had volunteers come out and work on that unit to keep it going, actually donating it's not Freon anymore, but whatever they put in it now, donating that to keep that one going, but it's on its last legs. So the air conditioning is probably the #1 priority for the immediate future.
Okay, I was just corrected. I was just told that we only have 80,000 to play with.
Yeah, we knew that.
City Council is looking at a change, but since they have not seen the next year's budget yet and haven't approved the funding yet, we're sitting at 80 with a potential of 90.
So we're still working basically at 80 right now.
Yes.
So yeah, I think the reason we put that in is to show the scope of what is necessary. We understand that we need to go out and raise more and get more donations, raise more money to do that. And we will do that one way or the other. We'll do it.
I do not want to imply that your cause is not well worth what you're doing. It's admirable. The dilemma is that your facility is sort of catastrophic.
Pardon?
Your facility is sort of a catastrophe. I mean, you have I would even venture, you might even have a health violation by virtue of the environment when you look at some of the photos of the ceiling and stuff.
Yeah, that occurred from a leak that occurred after the new air conditioner was installed. So we have identified where that is. We do have to replace the ceiling tile yet. Yeah, I don't mean to paint a picture that it's a catastrophe. I mean to paint a picture that it's an ongoing mission that we will continue to do, and we serve a large number of people every week, a large number of the homeless that a couple of the other organizations have talked about, and have been doing that for over 20 years.
Right. No, it's remarkably admirable. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean that label as pejorative. I meant that by virtue of what you imply, that this church has been in existence since 1950, and it has not had remarkable sort of structural improvements.
Well, the church has.
But the
sanctuary
halls
building.
Okay.
But the outbuildings have had I call it deferred maintenance.
There you go. There you go. And to a degree, they've been able to sustain themselves at least to this point. But as all of us get older, things happen, and it's deteriorated. So let's see. So Boy Scouts Club do have things that, especially when people want to be Eagle Scouts and stuff, that they have to perform. And that doesn't mean that they're really competent, but they may have parents that are either contractors or something like that. And maybe that collaboration could help meet some of the repair issues that you have, like repairing the clothing closet. The ovens, those are expensive. And it looks like those really need to be replaced.
I'm not sure I understood what you said about the oven.
The ovens look like they're in need of being replaced completely. They don't even look like they can really be repaired.
Actually, not. They need especially the hood over the ovens, which has the fire suppression.
Right.
We completely rebuilt that in 2009, and it needs to be rebuilt again, and that's about $4,500, as I understand. That has to be done by a professional. We can't do that with volunteers. In fact, we have the fire department coming out this week that will give us the kind of the final ideas of what we need to do with that. But the oven needs maintenance. It's a gas oven, needs maintenance. It's old, but we would not want to replace that.
Well, that's one of the problems we have here is that a lot of the work you need done can't be done by amateurs. It has to be done by licensed contractors.
Yeah. Virtually everything that we do on a regular basis is done by I wouldn't call them amateurs, but there's the person that really works on our air conditioner is licensed and a professional. contract out various things for maintenance as well, but a lot of it has been done by our own people.
I didn't really mean by amateurs, I meant the volunteers, that
Volunteers, yeah.
lay people who do not have the proper licensing.
Yeah, there's a point where that can't, it has to be done by
Right.
someone who's licensed and competent.
Because you're meeting with city code, county codes.
Right.
All the bureaucracy that's there.
And we are very familiar with that. We inspectors, we have water, let's see, fire this week, water this week. The resuscitation machine was a month or so ago. So we're constantly dealing with that and staying abreast of it.
Any more questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman Brennan, I just would like to go over a couple of things with the commission while you're all here. And that is in relation to your scoring rubric and how that correlates to your discussion that you'll have next month. Because you'll each have different scores. And then you will discuss how you maybe came to that or what you saw justified your score. And then we will work down through a spreadsheet that we can just keep adjusting numbers. We can create a couple of different options, funding options, and you can pick and choose what you like. So let me see if I have it here. The scoring rubric that is in the application is this one, and it is 1 to 5, you rank 1 to 5, and there are areas that, like this one says, proposal review, 25 points total, and you rank each one. Provided information on the residents served was at 1 through 5. Demonstration of successful projects, 1 through 5. So your scoring rubric, you'll each do this individually. I believe I gave you some sheets last month. And again, 1 through 5 is described down here. You'll come to your total, and I'll pull up a spreadsheet, and we'll work our way through what each of you decided to give each applicant, and then we work through how you want to adjust or not adjust your numbers.
Absolutely.
So the next meeting is April 22nd, I believe. Let me just double check. It is April 22nd at 5 p.m. and the applicants do not have to be present for that meeting. If you have any further questions for them, please send them to me and I'll pass them along. And then I will respond by sending your application along with the response to all of the board members. That way we're not breaking open meeting law. Other than that, that's all I have for you this evening.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Horizon didn't show up. Are they still requesting money?
They are still requesting money. In the application, that was for a refrigerator and a shelving unit.
Okay.
Correct. So they're still
Okay.
requesting funds.
Okay. All right. I just have a few of those announcements that we talked about.
Okay.
Okay, so per the community, it seems that April 6th is saturated with events, not quite, but they have a free concert called Living on Mars. I hear it's, sorry, I was going to do a pun, it's out of space, but I won't do that. Okay, it's at the Flatirons Park, and it's from 5:30 to 7 p.m., and again, that's free. There is another note that says the 19th annual East Valley Firefighters Charity Ride is at 8 a.m. to 10:30, but I couldn't find where that takes place. And it was interesting because it listed April 6th, but when I went to research it, it had something for March the 30th. And so I don't know if that was just a mislabel or what. And the last one is Earth Day, with a ladybug release. So if you're into that, that's a good thing. It's from 9 to 1 p.m. at the Earth Heart Park, at 65 North Plaza Drive.
That's always a lot of fun.
There's also the Slam U Professional Wrestling on April 20th at Imagine Prep. I saw that on Facebook earlier.
There you go. So we'll
Your-
let you wrestle with that. And
Your
if-
firefighters, if I may, your firefighters charity ride is April 6th, and usually riders gather at Superstition Harley, which is what they've said.
Oh, okay.
Kickstands up
I wondered
at,
who gathered there. It's kind of an interesting place.
and it
Okay.
doesn't say, it does not say what time. If they're,
It
usually
said
there's a,
from 8 to 10.
okay.
Jennifer, I kind of marked up my scoring rubrics. Can I print more of them out off of this? Did you send us this, or can you send me?
I can send you.
Can you send me a blank one and I
I
print
can
'em
send you a
out?
blank one.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Me too. Yeah,
So-
you too. I'll send you all.
all over it.
So to be official, and because I've been boboing around here a little bit, can I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting for this evening.
I'll second that motion.
All right.
Okay, instead of being person by person, we'll just say by voice vote. Is that okay?
So the
Roll
city
call.
code actually says I have to do it by a voice.
Okay.
So I will do this. Commissioner Moeller,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Danford,
Yes.
Commissioner Vosine,
Yes.
Chairman Brennan.
Yeah,
All right, motion passes.
okay.
You are adjourned. Thank you.